Sorry, Jan's here. Just confirming we're not started, right? I'm not having an audio issue?
No, not yet.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, NSO2, Blackfoot, and Korasu, as well as Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. And I will do a quick roll call of council members. Councillor Wright.
Good evening.
Councillor Knack.
Good evening.
Councillor Principe.
Hello.
Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Stevenson.
She had indicated that she wasn't going to be able to make it this evening.
Oh, I good. Okay. And Councillor Paquette. Councillor Paquette. Councillor Tang.
Hello.
Councillor Hamilton.
Councillor Hamilton may be a few minutes late.
Okay. Councillor Rutherford.
Good evening.
Councillor Salvador.
Hello.
Councillor Cartmel. Councillor Cartmel is at the conference, so he won't be able to attend. Yeah. Councillor Rice.
Good evening.
Councillor Jans.
Hello.
Okay. Nice to see everyone. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor Rutherford, can you do that for us, please?
Sure. I move that the April 27th, 2022 City Council non-regular meeting agenda be adopted with the following changes. The additions of 6.1, Naming Committee 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan. 6.2, Edmonton Design Committee 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan. 6.3, Energy Transition Climate Resilience Committee 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan. 6.4, Edmonton Salutes Committee 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan. 6.5, Edmonton Combative Sports Commission 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan. And 6.6, Community Services Advisory Board 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Plan.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Need a second, Councillor Rice.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Okay, any questions on the adoption of the agenda? Seeing none, please vote.
In favor.
I'm a yes.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Any protocol items? I see none. Select items for debate. All right. Sign up, please. Or we need to select all of them. Councillor Knack?
That's what I was going to do, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to select all of them to hear our speakers. Thank you.
6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 4, 5, 6. All are selected. Thank you. Councillor Wright? I got them all. Thank you, Councillor Wright. Okay, we have none to vote on the report, not selected for debate, request to speak none, request for time specific none, vote on bylaws not selected for debate, none. Councillor inquiries, any inquiries? None. Report to be dealt with at a different time. None. Request for reschedule. None. Public reports. None. We are going into our first item, 6.1. We have the chair, right? Okay. Here. Okay. All right. We'll go to Chair Aaron McDonald. Thank you for being here today with us virtually. Nice to see you. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councillors and members of City Administration. My name is Erin McDonald, and I'm the current chair of the Edmonton Naming Committee. The Naming Committee is a decision-making body tasked with approving naming for municipal facilities, new neighborhoods, parks, roads, and other unique municipal infrastructure. Our work often involves reviewing requests to name streets and parks, but our discussions go far beyond that. Our goal is to consider how naming will impact Edmontonians and ensure that our names reflect our distinct, diverse community. The Naming Committee worked to produce the new Naming Municipal Assets Policy, with which City Council approved on August 24th of last year. This policy affirms our commitment to and focus on elevating names that reflect the Indigenous heritage of this land and the people who have called it home, from time immemorial to today. By actively working to increase the representation of Indigenous and other underrepresented communities in civic naming, we are honoring and celebrating what makes Edmonton both diverse and distinct. To achieve these goals in 21-22, the Naming Committee approved a request to name a park in the Beaumaris neighborhood as Edmonton Gibran Khalil Gibran Park, after the renowned Lebanese author, poet, and humanist. This name celebrates Edmonton's Lebanese and Arabic communities with 1.3 acres of land adjacent to Beaumaris Lake. The Naming Committee commends the community for proposing this name, and we were pleased to support and encourage these types of applications. The Naming Committee also celebrates local heroes and icons. For example, when the opportunity arose to name a park within the Keswick neighborhood behind the new Joey Moss School, the Naming Committee could only recommend one thing: name the park after our local hero. Joey Moss was an icon and beyond, and taught us about acceptance and inclusivity. In 2022, the Naming Committee will continue to assess community and industry-generated naming requests for roads, parks, and municipal facilities. We are also asking more challenging questions of our applicants to ensure we are honoring the spirit and intent of City Policy C-509C to improve representation in naming across our city. Specifically, we are exploring ways that the naming community can engage with and encourage citizens to propose names and participate with us on naming initiatives. Currently, we are actively involved with the Grandin Working Circle to bring recommendations for a new name for the former Grandin Government Center LRT station. Further, the Naming Committee represents the City of Edmonton on the River Valley Alliance's trail naming initiative for the trails that connect the River Valley between Devon to Fort Saskatchewan, or North America's largest urban park. Edmonton's strategic plan, Connect Edmonton, highlights the objective of creating vibrant and thriving communities that reflect the distinctive and lively culture of our city. With our focus on celebrating diversity and highlighting this through official and honorary naming practices, the Naming Committee engages in advancing the strategic goals of the City of Edmonton. We appreciate the ongoing support of City Council and City Administration generally, and Mr. Corey Sousa, Principal Planner, who is our liaison. It is our pleasure to continue our service to this great city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and also thank you so much for all the work and you and the volunteers on the naming committee have been doing, and you have been assigned to deal with some of pretty tough files as well, right? So thank you so much for all the work. I'll go to council members for questions. Just give me 1 second for the tab to appear. council members. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, Aaron, thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the work that you've done in honoring, I guess, some Edmontonians in the naming. But I'm just wondering, how long of a process is that going to be for the Grandin renaming? Sort of, and what is the process?
Thank you for your question. I am not the representative sitting on that committee, and therefore I don't feel equipped to fully and clearly answer your question accurately. My understanding is there is a pause at the moment, and that this timeline is likely going to be longer than we should like. But I would have to defer to my administration contact for some of the specifics on recent developments.
Okay, I'm sure it is quite an involved process. But thank you for your work.
Yeah. Do we
Thank
have
you.
someone from administration present?
Hi, it's Corey Sousa here.
Go ahead.
Currently, what the working circle, they're developing a strategy to identify the individuals that should be part of that circle. So looking at Indigenous elders, as well as potentially including the French community, as well as local community members, as well as members from administration that are involved with the LRT. So it's still at the early stages of developing who will be sitting at that working circle.
Yeah, I guess we want to get it right this time, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Rutherford.
Yes, thank you so much. And as a new counselor, I probably have a few process questions that I'm just curious about. I guess from what I could read in the report, a lot of it's sort of initiated either by the city or the industry or like through an application process. Is my understanding correct?
That is correct, yes. There are several ways that the process can be initiated. Generally, they're driven by industry, community members, or administration.
Okay, so I know we just created this new policy in 2021 that's a little bit more holistic, I think, in that naming process, because I've as somebody that's worked in administration on a social policy for a long time, many of the naming policies have been pretty colonial. So it's good to hear that that's changed. I guess my question is, does the naming committee do any kind of like proactive, like Grandin was pretty reactive, right? It took a pretty heads-on situation and a council motion during an election year, so be it what it may, that's a true fact, to get that rolling. Are there other problematic names, or is the naming committee making any kind of discussion or recommendations with administration on other areas that are maybe problematic in their current naming?
Thank you. That's an excellent question and one that we wrestle with. I think one of the challenges for us is as a volunteer committee, we don't actually have the resources as ourselves, to be proactively seeking out individual names. However, administration has supported us in identifying some problematic names. Those include such things as Oliver. In cases like that, we are exploring with those communities whether there will be community-driven engagement or whether the city needs to take a more active role, in which case we would recommend back to administration that further research would be completed and support from within administration to proceed with that active role.
Okay, that makes sense. So what I'm understanding is, as much as there's an interest in that, the capacity for volunteers, and understandably so, is really focused on being more reviewers of those applications that come in. And so it would, if for example, if council has a desire to say, let's look at what names are problematic or do a little bit of a look at that. If it's not already in the works, we'd have to look at that more at the administration level, and they would then consult and engage with you. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, that would likely be the most effective way to move forward. We are working to individually engage with several communities through some outreach, but to have a holistic and comprehensive evaluation of every name in the city and every potential risk, there would need to be substantially more research capacity.
Yeah. And that would be a big project, but I think there are some that are pretty obviously, like Oliver's a great example of we know is problematic. So my last question, but you're not involved in any way in the naming of schools.
That is correct. We are not involved in the naming of schools.
Okay, those were all my questions, and I just want to say, great work. This is so important, and what an amazing volunteer role to get to really shape and names really reflect, like you said, that tapestry of who is and what our city represents. So it's an amazing honor to meet you and to thank all of the people that have dedicated time to do what is often underappreciated but so valuable in what you do as the city builds out. So thank you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Mr. And thank you very much and for all the volunteer work and for our city. That's great. I have very quick questions for the word name cross city and is not under this scope of the committee, right?
The ward naming, when the recent ward naming process was completed, the naming committee did participate in that process, but I believe it involves several other aspects of administration, including the Electoral Boundaries Commission, and there are some pieces of legislation that govern that. We were involved in ensuring that the Circle of Matriarchs was assembled, and we supported that process.
Okay, thank you, wonderful. And then because my word's name is longest name, and I heard so many people say even cannot pronounce that. 21 letters, 8 syllables. So I can pronounce perfectly right now, and even in the last year. But I just wondering, and for this process, that is my question. Thank you. Only question.
Thank you, Councillor Rice, representing Ipiko Kinipiaste. Here you go. Thank you so much. Right. Yeah. And Councillor Tang.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and also Mr. Sousa for supporting this work. I guess I just want to build on Councillor Rutherford's line of questioning there a little bit. First, in terms of the process that's community member initiated. So is it that they need to come with like a fully developed proposal, or is it just to say, hey, I'm interested in initiating something with my neighborhood? What kind of advice would you be able to provide?
So there are several ways that these become generated. One is someone may propose an individual name to be added to the names reserve list, in which case it's simply an application form that's not tied to a specific asset. It may be someone that the community wishes to commemorate, but there isn't a particular site or section of the city that they feel it's important to commemorate this person. However, in cases where an organization wishes to, say, name a park, it includes quite a comprehensive application process, which generally involves evidence of community consultation, which usually starts at the community league level, and we would be looking generally for community league support.
Right.
We also look for biography, and that biography that's provided by the applicant would have to be supported by secondary research that we do through administration or the committee to ensure that this person is of the caliber that we wish to ensure there's a name.
Okay.
And then, so it can go either way. If somebody is curious about how to name an asset or to get a name on to the names reserve list, that's something that Corey is excellent at helping with.
Yeah, no, he certainly has been a resource for sure. And I'm curious, with the Grandin, it neighbors Oliver. is the naming committee process overlap at all with the current community initiated process? And is there a conversation going on?
Yes. So specifically with the Oliver Community League, that one has been a community generated process. And in that case, the naming committee is available and present to attend meetings and be invited as a participant if we are invited. And at this point, based on the policy of the city, we would support a renaming initiative that had community support generally. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering through, I guess, the grant and process. I'm assuming you're developing a bit of a process, kind of because where is sometimes these can be very contentious issues in the community and very divisive at times. And I'm just curious if you have any recommendations for, leagues or community members who want to maybe change the name of their neighborhood.
If there are individuals, I would certainly encourage them to connect with their community league first and build that support. One voice may not be heard, but many voices are exceptionally loud, and that will carry weight. With the the community-driven process, we really think that that's an opportunity to be engaged with your community and to take advantage of the momentum you build to create learning and growth. But for a community league, we usually encourage them to reach out to Corey and speak to him about the process, what they need to support an application, and generally that process can move fairly quickly if a community is organized. But with some of these contentious names, there's a long-term consultation commitment that needs
Absolutely.
to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question is about budget, which I didn't see in the report. But I am curious, if something does get changed, do you have a lot of infrastructure, like whether it's street names or signage and that kind of stuff? Is that budget part of the committee budget, or is that just part of the general operating budget?
I understand that's a different part of
Okay.
city administration. At this time, aside from the honorarium policy, and we don't really have any hosting costs, the naming committee does not functionally have an operating budget.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I don't know if Mr. Souza, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so if there is an initiative to potentially rename a road, and it would involve the cost for changing the signage and the addresses, as well as costs related to consultation, they would be incorporated within our branch, our operating branch budget, as well as the branch department. But if there are significant costs, they ultimately would come as a package to city council. So city council would ultimately be approving a potential, for example, a renaming a road such as Gateway Boulevard or Calgary Trail northbound to Gateway Boulevard, which included changing all the different signage as well as reimbursing businesses and residents that were affected by the address change. So potentially any future renaming costs would ultimately go to city council for approval.
That's good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Principe, can you take the chair, please?
I'll take the chair.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up on Councillor Rutherford's questions around being proactive in engaging the community in this conversation, because there's a very checkered history of our city, and there's a lot of trauma attached to some of these, or the trauma caused when people see their name, and it does cause that trauma. So, want to know from, how much engagement do you have with Indigenous communities and elders in just understanding what would be the better approach, a proactive approach would be to deal with some of these controversial names that may not be on people's radar at this time, but it may come on people's radar. So having a kind of proactive approach and engagement with Indigenous communities to seek some guidance on that.
Thank you. We honestly should work towards more proactive engagement with Indigenous communities on this question. We have in the past, from a project standpoint, worked with specific Indigenous community on different issues. And that included such things as engaging with the Alexander First Nation around the southeastern portion of the city when we were naming, and whether there was a connection with the land that they would like some commemoration there. We ultimately went with Dakota and used a different schema, but it has been more project-based.
Yes.
The Indigenous Ward Naming Project is another example.
Yeah.
We
So it's
do
more of
work
mercy.
with the Indigenous Relations branch, and we do receive advice from them when questions come up related to what's appropriate or Indigenous land use or Indigenous names.
Yeah.
And we then start a specific engagement process. There is not a global or comprehensive engagement process for the naming committee
Got
per
it.
se.
So it's project to project as need based, not a proactive holistic approach to, okay,
Correct.
what should be our city's approach to revisit some of those names. And because Grandin was very divisive, I think if we could have a proactive approach, we can probably avoid some of that division in the community. And come to a more of a common understanding, and also be educational tool to engage the community on in the history of our city, right? So, yeah, I know. So it's so. I just want to get a sense from maybe over to you, Mr. Sosa. Like, what would the process be in order to enable the naming committee to undertake that kind of work, proactive work, seeking guidance from Indigenous elders on how to approach not future naming, but also the existing names that might be problematic.
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for that, Mayor Sohi. So there's actually two approaches that administration is developing. The first one is part of the Indigenous framework, which is to develop an Indigenous place name naming strategy, which will identify elders and community members, as well as a naming strategy, as well as a process to help develop a list of names so we can use for future naming, whether it's a park name or a future neighborhood. So that's being more proactive to identify Indigenous place names. And then there's a potential committee that will be put together that will be part of or under the umbrella of anti-racism, which would be including members from different committees, as well as members from administration, as well as members from the community, to sit together and look at how we should be not only naming future roads and parks, but also having statues and monuments. And part of that process would potentially include identifying problematic names and how we should go about potentially changing those names, but also identifying them too. Because one of the problems from the administrative side of things is that the names that we have on file all paint those individuals in a positive light. So we don't necessarily have all the potentially negative aspects, or perhaps things that they have done in the past that might have been positive at that time, but now in this particular time frame and with more knowledge, we understand that those individuals, for example, Frank Oliver, was quite problematic and quite racist. So those are the two initiatives that are being developed currently within administration.
I will give the chair back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Principe. Yeah, well, we'll follow up on that later on in offline to get more sense on that, because it's something is on.
Mr. Mayor, I'm trying to ring in.
Oh, Councillor Paquette. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, please, thank you. And please pardon me, this evening it's my wife's last day at her board, so they're sort of giving her a celebration. I'm on my own with the kids, which is normally okay, except I've got a lot of cleanup to do, so please forgive me for not being on camera. But I just want to thank the naming committee for all the work that you've done. You've done an incredible job over the years, and with all the work you're doing for how we're going to approach it going forward, it's just fantastic. I just wanted to touch on one of the things that was just mentioned, because I think it's a really important point, and I appreciate it a lot. And that is that the context of actions may change with new understandings. And so I am just wondering how we approach that, because with the example of Frank Oliver, in some ways he was feted at the time and for some time after, and with some people even still today, for his actions when it came to Indigenous people and the theft of land and so on and so forth. But it's not the historical context that changed, because if you were to ask the Indigenous people at the time, I don't think that they would say that it was just or fair or right. So I'm just wondering how we approach that going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. That's a challenging question, and I think one that many cities are wrestling with, whether it's discussing statues or names of our central square like Churchill. There is an argument that some of these individuals caused harm, and it's difficult to balance celebration and trauma. I think it's a matter of continually assessing and asking these tough questions and having sincere conversations, sometimes about people that may historically have been celebrated. And there is going to be an argument for keeping the name, and there will be great arguments for changing the name. I think it's about continuing to have the conversation, and when these concerns are raised, that we ask ourselves some questions on whether this individual would pass muster through today's lens.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the Churchill example is also very interesting, because if you ask a certain demographic of folks who actually represent an incredibly large demographic globally, they would have, basically your numbers would be overwhelmingly to the negative. So I guess the natural question then is, should we ever, from this point forward, be naming streets or parks or neighborhoods after people?
Well, that's an excellent question, and one that we contemplated when revising the policy. We very intentionally reordered the priority that puts less focus on people and more focus on diverse words, on flora and fauna, and the natural landscape and features. I believe there will always be an argument for celebrating individuals like Joey Moss. But to name everything after individuals, it could continue to be problematic, certainly. And people are complex, they change over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's a great example as well. So again, just another reason to give all of you an enormous amount of praise and deep thanks for all the work you do, because it is complex, it is challenging. But at the same time, I can only assume from my own reaction to hearing about your work that it's also quite rewarding and exciting as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. So that concludes the questions. Councillor Principe, would you like to move the recommendation in 6.1?
Yes, I would like to move the recommendation that we receive 6.1 for information.
Thank you. We need a seconder. Councillor Rice. Councillor Rice seconded it. All right. So anyone to speak? Seeing 1, 2, 3, none. Please vote.
Jans is in favor.
We're just waiting on one vote. Councillor Tang?
It's not showing up for me. Yes for me, of course.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. And once again, Ms. McDonald, thank you so much for your work. Please do convey our appreciation to the rest of the committee members. Okay. And we are going into our next item, 6.2, Edmonton Design Committee. Okay, do we have Janice Mills online? Okay.
Yes, you
There we
do.
go. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your work. And I'll pass the mic over to you.
Okay, I was wondering if Christine can bring up my PowerPoint
There we go.
presentation. Thank you. So good evening, Mayor, councillors, and members of administration. My name is Janice Mills, and I am the current chair of the Edmonton Design Committee. For simplicity, as we move forward, I will refer to it as EDC. Next slide. So through this presentation, I will give you a brief overview of our mandate and function, our current membership and last year's membership as well, our highlights for our previous year, as well as our priorities as we move into our next term. Next slide. So the EDC operates under bylaw 19784, and with that, we will continue to provide input to the city with respects to urban design principles, guidelines, and policies. We accept submissions and provide recommendations to urban planning and economy and development permit applications, as well as required by the bylaw. We accept submissions and provide recommendations to councils on comprehensive rezoning applications, including direct control provisions, special area zonings, and major commercial corridor overlays within the established EDC boundaries. Next slide. So with that, the EDC typically meets at minimum twice monthly. Sometimes special meetings are required due to the number of submissions. With that, as previously noted, we spend a lot of our time reviewing formal rezoning and development permit applications. So with that, formal submissions coincide with the development permit and rezoning applications that the city receives. These are required of all projects that fall within the geographic boundary listed in the bylaw, as well as all of City of Edmonton projects. Applicants can also opt for an informal pre-consultation prior to the formal submission. These presentations are not open to the public, and it's where the applicant has an opportunity to come to EDC for preliminary advice with respect to their development. We find, in the opinion of the committee, that these informal pre-consultations are extremely valuable. The conversations better prepare the applicant for the formal submissions. Applicants who attend a pre-consultation are typically more successful at gaining our recommendation of support. Next slide. So an overview of our committee membership. The EDC consists of 12 members appointed by council, representing various design professionals. So architects, planners, engineers, registered landscape architects, the Edmonton Arts Council, post-secondary education, representative from the development industry, as well as a person from the community at large. In 2021-2022, 4 of the members you see on your screen are outgoing, 3 of which reach their maximum of 6-year term. One of the members left due to personal reasons and time commitment. For the 2022-23 term, the vacant positions have been appointed by council, with the exception of the architectural AAA position, due to no applicants applying to the office of the city clerk. Currently, this does not pose any undue hardship to the committee, and it actually supports our efforts of trying to stagger committee membership terms, especially when there are multiple people from one organization. So we currently still have 2 AAA representatives sitting on the committee. Next slide. So some of our highlights for 2021-2022, we held 23 virtual meetings. Of that, there were 59 presentations. There were 35 formal submissions, and of that, 31 received positive support, some with some suggestions for improvement. We also developed some new EDC standards and procedures, and we also updated the Edmonton Design Committee bylaw. Next slide. So with the update to the bylaw, CR 7736 policy and procedures, which was presented to Urban Planning Committee last February, identified the need to develop new standards and procedures. The updated bylaw was approved by City Council on August 30th. Next slide. So also, we have now developed standards and procedures, which just helps with the overall processes of the meetings, and it provides clearer mandate and scope for the committee for review and also expectations of the committee members. Next slide. So moving on to 2022-2023 priorities, in addition to our general mandate, we are looking at broadening our onboarding of committee members. We also would like to monitor the standards and procedures that were developed last year. To that item, we have created a standing agenda item to review any feedback, either public or committee driven. And in June 2022, after onboarding of new committee members is complete, we will look at forming a subcommittee to start reviewing potential changes to the geographic boundary and also the principles of urban design. Next slide. And that is it.
Thank you so much for your presentation and for all the work. And I will go to Councillor Tang for questions. Councillor Tang?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Mills, for the presentation. I know I certainly really appreciate those letters during public hearing reviews. I'm very interested in your 2 priorities of potential changes to the boundary and also the principles of urban design. And I was curious, the current geographic boundary, I'm assuming that's guided by the bylaw, and when was that first established?
So there has been no update to either of those 2 items since the committee was originally formed, hence why we think that they do need a review. The plan for the geographic boundary is to have open discussion to see if we can align it with the new city plan, especially in regards to nodes and corridors. In regards to the principles of urban design, similarly, they haven't been touched since they were developed at the beginning of the formation of the committee. So we'd like to update them with some of the changes we've seen in the city, as well as accessibility. Is a very lacking piece in the current principles of urban design.
Yeah, and so I guess that's one of my follow-up to that is, how do you see policies like C602, I think, for the accessibility be, I guess, integrated as part of the conversation at all?
So I would say if you do attend an EDC meeting, there's a lot of discussions about accessibility and edge conditions, things like stairs, safety, those type of items. So we'd like to find a way to incorporate those concerns into the principles of urban design. The current principles of urban design are more laid out as a reference guide for applicants to kind of give them a guiding direction of what we're looking for good urban design. They're not meant to be, like as stringent as a building code or an actual zoning bylaw or zoning requirements. So I think it's going to be a fine balance, but we definitely want to put some highlights onto those.
Yeah, that's great. And finally, I'm curious, out of all the the dozens of recommendations you have put forward, I'm curious if the committee's ever followed up with how many of those are faithfully kind of follow through or.
So as part of our current update that we went through with the bylaw amendment and the new standards and procedures, it's actually allowed and opened the channels of conversation with administration better for those things. So we've now developed a relationship with the planners that if there are revisions seen during their review stages as the projects move forward, they're actually flagging those back to the committee now. Some of them are minor. Typically, we do provide them follow-up if there's any items. We keep those conversations currently to the chair and the vice chairs, and then if they're significant enough, then we'll open it up to the general committee for comments.
So there's quite a bit of a dialogue. That's
Yes.
great. Thank you so much again for your presentation and for the committee's work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Wright?
Thank you. Ms. Mills, I'm just wondering, as I was reading through the report, I noticed the I guess sort of your mandate, I guess, is to look at the infill and transit-oriented neighborhoods. And I got kind of excited thinking, oh, exhibition lands, that you'd be putting your input there. But then I got to the map, the boundary map from 2008, it looks like. And that's outside of your boundaries then, the Northland site, is that right?
So some of it is at the discretion of administration and council. So if there are areas of concern, sometimes projects outside of the boundary do get sent to EDC. With that said, I think your project that you're referring to would be considered one of those TOD sites or mass transit sites. So it may actually already fall within the mandate.
Okay, so even though it looks like it's outside the boundaries because of those parameters, okay, excellent. Good, I just wanted to clarify that because your input would be, I think, quite valuable there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Rice?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I really want to say I appreciate this professional work this committee has been doing for our city. It's very important work, and thank you very much, and for you and you, Janice, and then for the board members as well. So I just have a very quick 2 questions about the process. By looking at the mandate of this committee, and then we are actually the primary functionality is more about the review of private development application and then also rezoning application. So what is linkage and for this committee review those application and back to the administration review those application?
Okay, great question. So our meeting flow typically sort of mirrors council. So we join the meeting, we do our minutes, we do our agenda, and then we have an in-camera portion where we talk with administration. So administration comes in and they give us any of their comments that they have gathered through circulation. So we get those comments with their design brief, and we have that conversation back and forth. Sometimes the development officers have questions for us. They flag areas of concern and ask the committee, what we think of those type of things. Hence why in the letters that council receives, you'll notice sometimes that we're very specific in regards to our comments back. So that's typically where that conversation is.
So is that fair to say, and then committee review for any rezoning project and development permits application is the first step, and for city administration to take consideration and for the application?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that clarification. So the second question, and you mentioned about the new standards and procedures and for the work plan 2022. Is that part of our rezoning review bylaw renew process, or is it separate and specific for the committee?
It's separate for the committee. So similarly, the bylaw update that happened last year was part of the required 5-year kind of review of the existing bylaw. So when we completed that activity, that's what triggered us to actually update the bylaw. These two items were brought up through our stakeholder engagement of items that should be reviewed and readdressed. So we think it's important to form a subcommittee of EDC members and go through the process. Once again, there will be external stakeholder conversations as well. So when we did the bylaw, we also had external stakeholder conversations with industry representatives, and of course, administration.
So this type of review or bylaw updates or amendment and is not regularly do annually, is just based on as needed, right?
Yes, I believe the current requirement is to do a bylaw review every 5 years. So that was just our cycle to do a review, and then our review triggered the amendment that occurred.
Okay, thank you. That is my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. So that concludes the questions. And Councillor Rice, would you like to move the recommendation?
Yeah, happy to do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I moved Edmonton Design Committee 2021 annual reports and 2022 work plan and be received for the information.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Need a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Principe seconded it. Okay, any questions? Anyone to speak? Seeing 1, 2, 3, none. Please vote.
Jan's in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Jans.
We're waiting on one vote. Councillor Tang?
Sorry, I'm just like waiting for a show. It's not showing up. Of course, a yes for me.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. And once again, Ms. Mills, thank you so much for your work. And please convey our appreciations to the rest of the committee members. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
And our next item is 6.3 Energy Transition Climate Resilience Committee. And we have co-chairs Camille Jasper Fabii and Jacob Comer. Are they online?
Yes. Hello, can everybody hear me?
All right, we can. All right, go ahead. Over to you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Thank you for having us. My name is Jacob, and my co-chair Camille is logged in as well. We're here on behalf of the Edmonton Transition and Climate Resilience Committee. I'm here to present our 2021 annual report work plan, but since I think almost all of you are familiar with our committee, I'd like to focus less on our scope, meetings, and process and more on the key priorities our committee has identified over the years, which reflects our feeling of urgency on this issue. Similar to the IPCC reports that have been released recently, which once again have reminded us of that urgency in the climate crisis. I think we have less time and fewer options to adapt. Without bold actions, we're literally looking at a breakdown of human civilization. So on that positive note, the good news is that we already know what we must do. Our community energy transition strategy and action plan is a comprehensive framework for what needs to be done to meet our commitment to that 1.5 degree future. It's a bold and ambitious plan, years in the making, but now the real hard work begins. A great plan and vision is nothing if we don't spend money to implement it. A city's true aspirations isn't found in its vision, it's found in its budget. And we understand how difficult this and next budgets are going to be, especially as we're recovering from the pandemic. But if we wait for someone else to step up to show leadership, we'll find ourselves with an unlivable planet It's time for Edmonton to show leadership and make the tough choices that others are afraid to make. This may seem risky, but we believe that inaction is the greater risk. So we must immediately accelerate and fully fund the work within the strategy. Unfortunately, even that won't be enough. We need to inspire all Edmontonians to pick up this fight as well. We need a fundamental culture shift through all levels of society, including through all city staff and especially senior management. We need to inspire every individual to take personal responsibility in this fight so that the culture change is self-reinforcing. If we do not get buy-in from all city employees, the meaningful change will simply not happen. It's critical that that this culture change must include the shifts in thinking that are needed to make the transition also a just one. As the world transitions to a low carbon future, we have the opportunity and responsibility to implement changes that reduce instead of exacerbate societal inequalities and vulnerabilities. We are very excited about the implementation of a carbon budget into the budgeting process and looking forward to see how this drives change in decision making. Intricately tied to that carbon budget is metrics. In order to make the best decisions, the right metrics are needed to evaluate and rank proposed actions, as well as to report on and value progress and make necessary adjustments. These metrics are very important to our committee as well. We are tasked by you to review proposed climate measures and offer opinions whether you should proceed or not. Too often, in spite of our expertise collectively, because of a lack of solid metrics, we are forced to rely on qualitative judgments. City staff at every level, I think, are in the same predicament. They simply don't have the metrics and tools they need to make the best decisions. To do this, the Planning and Environmental Services Department needs more staff and support. Their work so far has been nothing less than heroic. Their work on the action plan and waking us up to the climate emergency was amazing, and now we need much more from them. We need their help and guidance in developing the carbon budget, its metrics, and in affecting and monitoring the culture change. We strongly recommend an immediate cluster hire of multidisciplinary resources within this department. Providing them the resources they need is among our highest priorities. The world will change more in the next 2 decades than it has in the last 100 years, and the impacts will be felt through every single aspect of our lives. We must embrace this change not with fear, but with bold enthusiasm for how much better our lives could be. We need to sell a new vision to Edmontonians, a vision of cleaner air, more walkable, livable, quieter neighborhoods, more efficient and cheaper buildings, more green space, better mental health and physical health. Climate change touches all of these things in a profound way. The alternative is energy poverty, continued climate disasters, health risks, worsening health outcomes, and being left out of the new green economy. We need buy-in from every citizen to be successful, and in order to do that, we need to give them a vision of a world that inspires them. Stopping pollution is not inspiring. Sorting recycling is not inspiring. Even reducing emissions is not inspiring. These are simply mitigation programs. But thinking of ourselves in a new way, thinking of the world in a new way, I think that's the only chance we have. If we are to save ourselves from this disaster, it will not be done by people with the old vision and a bunch of new programs. If the world is saved, it will be saved by people with a new vision and no program. Vision propagates itself and needs no programs. So let's give Edmontonians this vision. And just a last thought before I leave, that I'll leave you with a quote from Noam Chomsky, which is kind of the theme of our committee. Every time you are making a decision, it's a climate decision, and you are making a choice that no human in history has ever had to make. You're deciding whether organized human society will survive. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I don't know if Ms. Jasper Fabier, if you have anything to add.
I think she may have left the meeting.
Okay, no worries.
I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
I switched to a different device. I do not have anything to add. I think that Jacob's presentation was perfect. I mean, we keep emphasizing sort of the gravity of the issue. Let me see here. Because we keep emphasizing the gravity of the issue in every way we can because it's so important. And the actions are there, right? The actions are there. They're in the energy transition strategy and action plan. They've been laid out. We've done the planning. Like the latest IPCC report said, governments have done too much planning, not enough action. We're all about the action now. And it really has to be funded. It has to be funded at administration and the programs need to be funded in the budget. And, you know, the action plans are there. They've been laid out. It was last approved in the spring of 2021, the energy transition strategy, and we continue to support it. And really our message is that this is the priority. This is, we could say, the most important work, but that has to be prefaced with some conditions, such as, you know, it has to be consistent with reconciliation. We have to consider a just and equitable transition. We have to consider all of the other social and economic impacts. But this really is the critical work. And I really would reemphasize what Jacob has said in terms of the importance of the issue. It just can't be overstated. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you and all the work that you have been doing. So, and for the presentation, I will go to questions to council members. Council Salvador.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And thank you both for being with us tonight, for that excellent presentation, Mr. Komar, and for your service and everyone's contribution on the committee. It's greatly appreciated. And I just want to spend some time asking questions about action, about implementation, and really about budget, because that's the point where we're at. I mean, you both put it really clearly. The planning phase is over. We have a fantastic roadmap in front of us. Now it's time to do it. And I think this council is uniquely positioned to move forward on it. So when we're talking about budget, you know, we're looking at our 4-year budget coming up in a little while here. And I guess, you know, do you have any thoughts around or advice around the prioritization of actions? I know there was some mention of higher visibility early wins. And I know this work is going to be done by administration as well, but I would love your thoughts on that.
That's where I think the metrics, and, you know, Jacob was really saying, like, we need the information to be able to make the decisions. We're talking about a 4-year commitment. This is a once in 4 years opportunity to get it right. And we need the metrics. We need the carbon accounting framework. We need the data. We need the information. And I think we as a committee can take that information and we can definitely break it down from a climate perspective. But for us to come up with particular solutions, I think we just don't see the full picture to understand necessarily all of the considerations, because we're not experts on everything. But we can definitely weigh in from a climate perspective. We're just really limited in terms of how we can do that. Like Jacob said, we're really just giving our subjective sort of viewpoints, right? Without having good metrics and good data. So it's all about sort of the metrics, the carbon accounting framework, and really just getting this culture incorporated across the administration, across departments, and then really just giving the resources to those teams so that they can come up with those answers. Because I think we're really feeling like without good metrics, without the data, none of us can really answer those questions. So that's really what we're prioritizing for today, rather than necessarily picking a particular solution. But I think, you know, we'd sort of prioritize things that, like, we have to consider short-term gains and long-term gains in terms of the carbon impacts. We can't just look short-term because we're going to lock in too many emissions long-term. And we can't just look long-term because it's going to take too long to get there. Like, we have to look at flexibility in terms of fuel switching, because we don't know what the dominant fuel sources are going to be even in 30 years. So we need flexibility. Like, these are the things we can prioritize, but to come up with particular solutions, I think that work has been done and it's in the energy transition strategy. But I don't know whether, Jacob, you might have anything to add.
I mean, each of us in our own little field of expertise might have like an idea or two, or like, this is the big one to do. But I think going back to what Camille said, like, the metrics is what should be driving us, right? In the end, the metrics should tell us where the biggest pie is, right? Where are the emissions? Which one should be tackling? And then we need to track them and check how they're going. The world is changing so fast. Transport decisions made today may look silly in 5 years even, right? So we need to be adaptable, and I think the metrics and tracking them will allow us to do that. I think we'd love to give you an easy answer, and there are some easy wins, of course, but we have done the work. I think the work is in the transition strategy, but I think you know, I'm an energy modeler by trade, garbage in, garbage out. If we don't have metrics, it's hard for us to give you good advice. So yeah, I think that's why we're going to be harping on metrics for a while here, I think, our committee, because it helps us make decisions and give you better advice, and then it'll make it clear for you too.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I mean, it gives us that sort of collective frame of reference to be able to make those types of decisions. I guess when it comes to the introduction of carbon budgeting and accounting in particular, any additional thoughts on how to ensure that we're getting the most out of that tool so that as decision makers, every decision is a climate decision? Like how do you envision that tool being embedded in our decision-making process, ideally?
I mean, it could come down to a simple, dollars per CO2 emitted, right? And it's going to take a while for those numbers from every city department to kind of feed in. And again, I will, not to cop out, but it is going to go back to that vision as well and the buy-in from everybody. If we have a culture shift where every single employer, the guy that's washing the bus, says, you know what, this bus is clean enough, I'm not going to waste this energy type of thinking, we're just not going to get there. But Camille, any thoughts?
No, that was great.
Thank you so much, Councillor Salvador, and I'll go to Councillor Jens next.
Again, just wanted to press a little further on Councillor Salvador's line of questioning around the budget. So I think one of the most valuable roles we have with the committee is we have the right mix of outside expertise who can give us feedback about where we're going and where we need to go. You're aware we have many folks pressing us on the tax rate. We have many folks in the business community, et cetera, concerned about some of our investments previously. Where can I ask you to elaborate a little further on, as we go into the 4-year budget in particular, where you would like to see further investments?
I mean, that's a tough one because I think it comes down to like, do we fund something ahead of another thing? I think we know there's a lot of money to be spent. The transition strategy lays it out, and it's a lot of money. And I realize it's not going to be easy. I don't envy your position at all. But as we said, you can't, a city's, I'm going to misquote myself, but not that it's my quote, but a city's ambitions is reflected in its budget, not in its vision, right? And I think that we do have a good roadmap. The city has spent tons of time. We've spent tons of time planning. And yes, some wins are going to be easier than others. I think, off the top of my head, advancing PACE programs, our SEEP program, to use public money and private money to fund this transition. But I think in the end, it might seem risky and there's going to be fighting for dollars, but fundamentally, $60 natural gas per gigajoule in Europe has woken them up to a harsh new reality. And all of a sudden, all of our buildings and all of our homes are very difficult to live in and pay for those energy bills. So some of those decisions are just good business decisions. And yeah, it's hard to say what to prioritize. We've been having this discussion. I think regional collaboration is a big one. Getting more people on side. I think, frankly speaking, we're going to have to get into some fights with the province. That's my personal opinion over some things. But Camille, did you have anything to add?
No, look, we need to spend money on it all, right? Like, we need to spend money on resilience because we're not going to solve this problem by ourselves. We know climate change is happening. We need to spend money to protect ourselves. Edmonton will be a climate haven. The city will grow, and this will be a place that is relatively livable compared to the rest of the world. So we need to get that in place. We need to prioritize that. We need to prioritize buildings, right? We need to upgrade our building stock. The longer we keep building, crappy buildings, the more expensive it's going to be. to retrofit those in the future to what we know they need to be. So let's stop building, but then we also need to start retrofitting. And we need to figure that out because there's a big sort of puzzle that needs to be figured out, right? In terms of how to retrofit, we don't have those answers. We need to figure out those answers. So those are two very, very different strategies that have very different implications. We need to grow out the city differently, right? So we need to think about like the infill strategy, the growth management framework, the district planning, the zoning bylaw and renewal, how all that fits together. Absolutely, that stuff needs to be funded because we need a different type of city. Like we need all of this. We need transportation, right? We need a public transit network so that people can get around because we know EVs are our transition mechanism. We need, so like we need it all. There's no one to say, let's focus on buildings or let's focus on the LRT or let's, we need to do all of it and we need to find out we need to figure out how to afford all of it. So I think that's why we're hesitant to just pick a couple of options because we really do need to do all of them.
I mean, in the absence of that, though, unfortunately, I mean, we have proposals for rec centers, millions on snow removal, millions on other things that facilitate auto-centric lives and development. And it's really challenging. And having the committee to speak truth to power is very valuable. And I know I have to mind myself at council because I have to face you all at a next committee meeting if I vote incorrectly. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Councillor Rutherford.
Yes, thank you so much. In the report in attachment 1, you talk about, there's one thing that really jumped out to me, and I think I need to dig into this a little bit more. It says near-term targets are, by 2025, 35% reduction. And I'm acutely aware that we're already in 2022. So I hear that urgency. And I remember that graph that I saw from the strategy that really shows that these next 4 to 5 years are essential for our trajectory. Could you, I guess, speak to what that gap is? Because you said that there still remains a gap that's urgently needing to be addressed. What is that gap that we're currently experiencing? Like how, if you could just speak to that.
I think I'll just touch on that target because this is why we feel this urgency, because the longer we delay on that graph, the sharper the drop needs to be, right? Because our carbon budget is essentially the area under the graph. So every year that we don't delay, it's under the graph and everything's connected, right? The more suburbs we build, the more traditional buildings we build, it just keeps adding to our energy use instead of reducing it, right? So transit decisions, everything, zoning plans, it all is tied together. And I think this is why in the end, we need to start funding anything and everything right now, because we need to act right now. The longer we wait, the tougher it's going to be. And I think even from a risk scenario, we're seeing what's happening with natural gas prices, with carbon taxes. We're going to wake up to a new world. And a lot of these things, the good news is partly why I'm hopeful is a lot of these things are technological adoptions. And technological adoptions happen on S-curves, which means that they'll happen very quickly. iPhones and smartphones were adopted in 10 years. The internet, all of these things are adopted very quickly. It's the same thing is going to happen with EVs. The same thing is going to happen with ground source heat pumps, but we need to start investing in it now. I think every building that we build that isn't fully net zero is adding to our problem, not improving it. So I think, we're very conscious of those easy wins that may look like a win today, but actually long-term don't get us there. Again, I'll leave it to Camille.
I just have another question and just mindful of my time. But either of you jump in on answering these questions, because I think, being in this seat, it's interesting, just some of those tensions that I think some of my other colleagues have alluded to. We saw it with the mosquito aerial program. We've seen it with a few of the other decisions we've made. in terms of how emotional people are about the value, like you said, show what you value with the budget that you have, right? But a budget is at some point finite. And one of the things that I remember seeing is the report on alternative turf and the capital investment that would be required for horticulture when we have bridges that are in need of significant rehab. So I guess how do we balance that with, like, yes, we want to invest in horticulture, but we have the high level bridge that is not safe to cross if we do not rehab it. And we only have so much pool.
Maybe I can take a stab at that. The answer is really in the metrics, right? Otherwise, I mean, we're a committee of 15 people who have 15 different ideas of how to answer that question, right? Because we each come from our own sector, our own industry, our own background. But really, if we have metrics, then we can say, okay, this is, you have X dollars to spend. Here's where you spend it, right? It's like, how do you come up with a budget without having dollars to speak to? Like, how would you ever prioritize between projects if you didn't know how much they're going to cost? Like, it's the same thing, right? So we need the data, we need the metrics, and then we can answer that question with the data, right? We can say we have X dollars to spend. Here's how we get the most bang for our buck. But otherwise, we're going to have a hard time coming up with a consensus as a committee to say this is the thing you should spend money on. Because again, we need to do it all, and we need to do it within a particular budget, but the metrics will tell us the answer to that.
If I may maybe throw a dramatic metaphor, if your house is burning, you're not going to say, should I replace my fridge next? Or should I, call the fire trucks? I mean, that's obviously not perfect because
No, it's a great example.
But, it's on and we're getting closer and closer to that, I think. But.
Thank you. I appreciate those answers, really. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I would like to start thank both of you to taking time and come here, and I can feel your passion and your great work and for this. So my first question for this committee, and then going through the reports, I do realize there are two components and in this committee. One is specific for energy transition. One is a larger piece is climate resilience. So what is specific mandate and for this committee?
Mel, did you want to tackle that one?
Oh man, you're testing me. So our mandate is 4 parts. So one of them is to advise council on basically 2 policies, the energy transition strategy, and then the other one is it Climate Resilient Edmonton, I think it's called. I get mixed up in the names of the strategies, but basically we're here to advise on basically how do we lower our emissions? And then secondly, how do we prepare for the coming impacts of climate change on this city? Like, it's a 2-part mandate. But then we are also mandated with sort of like reaching out within our networks to sort of get information out about city programs, as well as to pull sort of information back from our networks and share it with the city, as well as to work with administration. So our bylaw says that we would meet with the city manager, which we sort of interpret as, meeting with the city manager as well as working closely with administration. And we also have a just and equitable lens that's layered onto our mandate.
Okay, so when is this committee established?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Okay, thank you for that clarification. And I really like what you mentioned earlier. And yes, government, we have lots of plans, and then we need to focus more on actions. And so from your perspective, is your action by reading reports for the priorities? I notice you listed a few of priorities. From action perspective, do you still talking about planning, or you have specific project-based actions? And if we are going to look at some action to look at the impact and then how we can action to respond to those impacts. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? So to me, and I cannot find specific actions and in the reports.
I feel like you've exposed us because we keep saying you need to act, but our priorities are sort of plans, right? Because culture shifts, culture change. I mean, it's an action, but it's planning. Carbon budget and metrics, that's going to take planning and time to develop and get better at. But we simply have to do it because, again, fundamentally, this is why it's hard for sometimes for us to say this is better than this, because we don't have the metrics. You know, is investing in EV infrastructure better than bike lanes, better than buses? I can tell you my gut feel, and that's what we've sort of been relying on, but I would want to see a number. This is better than this, better than this. It costs less, it gives us more bang for buck, and it's more future-proof, for example.
Yes,
So
I agree. Sorry, I interrupt you because I have to mindful to my time. That is what I mean. And if you're, like I heard that over and over about the metrics, and if we need that data, to tell us the story, what's the specific impact, what's the response we could take action on. And however, and is there any, when you talk about the carbon budget, when you mentioned that we need to do something, we need to budget this in 2023-26, but do you have a proposal and for specific actions and budgets and say, council, look at this is what our city needs? I think that piece, if could be more specific and more clear, and then reflected in the report, I think that will give us clear vision and direction where we want to go. So I just have that sense. Maybe I missed something. If I missed something, my apologies. Just that sense, and then I think something important. Yes, we need to do. I agree. We need to do that. We need to take some action. I really like action because I'm an action-oriented person as well. And then how we look at that action. So that's my question.
Think you make a great point. And I think in the end, we're going to say it's in the transition advisory plan, community energy transition strategy and action plan. All of the actions are there. The asks from the admin, I think, is already there. And I know that the city's already working with the feds to ask for money and stuff. We have actions. We just need to fund them fundamentally. And obviously we're going to improve and change over time, but there's actions that we can take right now, today.
Okay, my time is out. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Councillor Wright?
Hi, thank you very much. In one of the reports here, it talks about the exhibition lands implementation strategy, that we need an enforcement mechanism in place. I'm just wondering, is there any way, I guess, rather than enforcement, that we can first encourage?
So I think that's a great question, and it touches on a couple of things. So for some background, the exhibition lands, when it first came to us, had zero mandates for anything green, nothing. And we said, this is a 30-year, 20-year development, and we have this plan to get off emissions by 2030. How can we not ask them to be net zero? Because otherwise these buildings are just piling up our emissions. So to go back to the enforcement, we have been throwing carrots at problems, and you're going to catch the enviro nerds like me who are going to do it anyways, and they're going to take the incentives and run, and that's going to be 3-5% of the market. Just like the building energy codes, we need to bring up the floor. Our firm, we do a lot of code compliance work and energy modeling, and I can tell you, they will build the worst building they can legally build. We need to bring up that floor to bring up that 90%, right? And it's the same thing. You see what Vancouver has done and what Toronto has done with their Toronto Green Standard, Vancouver with their energy codes. When they mandated slightly better, an entire market moved. You see what's happening with Toronto now with ground source heat pumps. Huge developers that would never touch this stuff unless incentivized are moving this way because we brought up the floor. So I think an enforcement mechanism is absolutely necessary.
So we don't necessarily have to wait for Alberta building codes or anything to be brought up, we can bring them up in our own permitting, and that is.
This comes down to the charter powers that we may or may not have, which we may or may not have been taken away by the UCP government. I don't want to stray away from an opinion of the committee versus my opinions, but yeah, I think we do need to.
I might weigh in. I also think that it depends what role the city is playing, right? So if the city is the developer, then the city, of course, yes, the city can do a lot more in terms of enforcing. Like it's kind of a question of how many degrees of separation do you have between the city and the end builder so that you can enforce it. Because of course, if you're selling that land to a developer, then it's really up to the developer to enforce standards. And so I think that might also be sort of the nuance in that wording, as well as speaking to what powers that the city may or may not have to enforce different building standards in different areas. Like there might be different opportunities depending on whether the city's the developer or even potentially with the city's Indigenous strategy. There potentially could be more flexibility there as well. Like who knows? But I think it really depends on what role the city's playing in that process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Principe, can you take the chair, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll
Thank
take
you.
the chair.
Well, thank you so much for your work, first of all. And, you can sense from the question from Council that we rely quite a bit on you for for work and some sort of guidance. So what I want to know is that the items that you have identified as part of the work plan and which is on culture change, carbon budget, and developing metrics. So you'll be working with administration on that over the next few months, right?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I think it speaks to the questions previously that Councillor Rice had around, so we're talking about a 1-year work plan, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the next year, right? So within by the end of the year, right, we would have come up with a budget for the next 4 years, and that's the action. Because there's no action without funding behind it, right? That is the action. But what we're saying is there's a lot of work that has to happen between now and then. And we wish that work started a long time ago, but we're at what we're at, right? Yeah. And what we're saying is that it's about the timing. So over the next few months, we need to prioritize getting the resources to administration to give you the answers that you're looking for. First of all, and then secondly, getting the metrics in place, the carbon accounting framework and everything, so that when we do move forward with those actions, AKA the 4-year budget, we're doing so with the right information. So thank you for the opportunity to clarify. And we will certainly work with administration on an ongoing basis to ensure that by the time we do come back to you with memos on the budget, that we're really hoping to be able to fully support what administration has in there.
Got it. And you'll be able to do that in time for us to make those decisions where the dollar should go over the next 4 years.
We'll continue working with administration within the timelines of the city, but we hope to be able to do so with, good information.
I think it is necessary that work is done. I understand your volunteers absolutely get it, right? But for council to make decisions on budget allocation, that metrics needs to be in place for us to make sure that every dollar that we're allocating giving us the best value for that dollar in emissions reduction or making our communities resilient.
And absolutely, and I think one of our key messages is also that the city admin already know this, but they need resources as well. Okay. I think we need to arm them, with resources to be able to give you those metrics. They know where their weaknesses are. I think they just don't have the resources.
Got it. Okay. Want to shift on to part of that work is. Is there a way to kind of not itemize, maybe give a sense on, okay, this is what if we have said this much money, allocating this much money will achieve this much result. But on the other hand, we have regulatory powers, right? is there a way to get a sense, okay, what are some of the tools that city, you talked about one of them, like building to higher standards, the things that city can do on its own to raise that bar on the regulations?
For sure. The buildings, for me, because I'm a buildings person, that's an easy one. That will cost you nothing. A lot of this, the cost needs to be borne by everyone, right? So it's not just the city that has to do everything. And there's regulatory things that you can take that incentive. I mean, to give maybe a small example, R1 zoning, and Edmonton's, doing the right things. I think we're ahead of a lot of other cities, but changing how our cities look will change how the cities build, how the market build. If you incentivize business to be in my neighborhood and density, that's less miles driven, that's, less emissions of transport and people walking, and it's better neighborhoods and it's cleaner air and all of those things. It's not just necessarily spending money. It's you give the businesses the tools they need to make the right choices. But if we keep building in the suburbs, we know where this is going, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of guidance, I think, Council, is at least I'm in my mind, I'm looking for, from volunteers who are experts in this field, so to make sure that we're making the right decisions over the next 4 years. So thank you so much for your work. And I'll take the chair back.
You can have the chair back.
Thank you so much, Councillor Principe, and I'll go to Councillor Paquette next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jacob and Camille. What a pleasure to have you here. So very bright, and it really shows through. I don't often effuse with praise, but in this case, it's very much warranted. So to follow up on some of the things that the mayor was talking about, I recall when the Canadian government brought in legislation that changed us from incandescent bulbs. And, I remember, years after meeting with developers saying, Councillor Paquette, we can't incorporate some of these environmental regulations that you might want to propose because, the market just won't bear it. Well, the market wasn't going to naturally shift away from incandescent bulbs, right? So I would assume that that's a prime example of something relatively simple that a government can do that creates long-term and lasting impact.
For sure. I always go back to the example of catalytic converters. I think it was in the 50s or something when the government said, cars are polluting really bad, we're going to add catalytic converters. There was a huge backlash from the manufacturers saying, this will add $10,000 and nobody will be able to afford a car. And they went through with it, and it ended up costing them almost nothing, and in some cases actually reduced their costs. And it's going to be the same thing with net zero buildings. I know because I live in this world, yes, building a net zero building is going to be more expensive, but I also know that for a mass builder to build net zero ready today might be a $10,000 to $15,000 premium. And they're gonna scream at you and they're gonna say, no, but the market can't bear that. Well, can the market bear granite or marble countertops or slightly worse appliances? I mean, again, it comes back to values. We pay for those things because we want them, but we ignore all of the other risks and the costs that we're outsourcing to somebody else. I think this is a time to be bold, and I think, yes, you're going to get, like always, pushback from developers and builders and manufacturers, but they're going to overstate the problem. It's not that hard. We have the solutions, and it's going to cost a little bit, but we're ignoring all of the benefits, right?
Yeah, and as you say, as we go forward with this, actually, a lot of costs to cities and therefore to taxpayers end up either like getting to a stasis kind of place as far as costs of some things, or even drop. So I think that there may be some short-term adjustment, but the long-term benefit will be huge. Do I have this right? This is sort of my thinking.
No, absolutely. The city admin, when they present to us, they've showed us, and I wish I could show you the charts, but by 2030, when we're living in net zero buildings, the average savings for the average Edmontonian is something like, I don't want to lie, but it was something like $7,000 per year. That's money that is no longer spent on paying for utilities to a massive corporation, paying for gas to a massive oil company, and it going back into the economy, back into the city, right? There's huge benefits that we ignore. And that's why it drives me nuts when, you know, they overstate the first cost. We need to stop thinking about first cost. You get what you pay for. And in the end, if we want our city to look a certain way, we need to invest in it.
That makes perfect sense to me. Now, I want to shift gears quite drastically. And, you know, one of the hot topics in the news these days is safety on transit. And we know that part of this issue, or actually the whole of the issue, has to do with safety on transit are the branches of a tree whose roots are actually mental health and addictions and, homelessness and things like that. So one of the things that we would love to do is see people transition toward transit. But if we're not taking care of these social issues, that's going to be a very hard proposal. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit, just this idea that some of this environmental change is actually some very serious and, in the end, incredibly beneficial social change.
Absolutely, that can't be overstated. And I think the one thing that this IPCC report showed, and one thing that I know because my wife is doing a master's program on climate health, the impacts that climate has on health, and we're talking pollution, emissions, and it disproportionately affects the poorer neighborhoods and the poorer people, right? And they end up taking the brunt of these climate impacts, and then there's social impacts. So it's 100% connected. We cannot solve climate change unless we address those inequalities. How can we ask a mother who already takes the bus or walks to work to pay even more, right? When there's people that own 2 homes and fly to Hawaii every month and, drive an SUV. Unless we address those inequities, we just fundamentally won't solve that problem.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette.
Way ahead of time.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Councillor we need a second round. Can you move a second round, please, Councillor Paquette?
Yeah, I'd love to move the second round.
Thank you. We need a second. Second by Councillor Principe. All right, so please vote on second round.
Yes, for me.
Me, yes, as well. Here you go, I got it. Here, submit.
Yes, as well.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Councillor Salvador, next.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for allowing a second round. So I just wanted to loop back to the resourcing piece, just to make sure I got it right. I know in your initial remarks, Mr. Komar, you mentioned kind of an immediate cluster hire to provide those additional resources for the team that's actually leading the implementation. Did I get that right?
Yeah, we've been working with City Admin for a long time now, and like we mentioned, their work has been unbelievable. The work that they've done with the limited resources is honestly heroic, but to take it to the next level, they need resources. And by arming them with the resources, we can make those better decisions because we'll get those metrics and it's going to benefit everyone. And it's going to make your life easier because you'll be able to make those decisions more easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure that we're sort of setting ourselves up to have that really productive, meaningful conversation at budget so that we have those metrics in hand. Okay, well, I appreciate that. And one of the other questions I had, I'm just going to loop back to the action plan, which really spells it out in actually a lot of detail. I mean, there's over 100 action items in there. It's a great read, and it includes, timelines associated with that, level of investment, impact, and a lot of those actions were supposed to have been initiated actually already. And I guess I'm wondering, does the committee kind of track the initiation of some of those actions? And I guess looking for your thoughts on how we're doing so far, because I know even 2021 was some of the initial implementation dates for a number of the actions.
Camille, feel free to jump in at any point, but yeah, we do track, like, I think we have a fairly standard section in our meetings to get updates on programs like SEEP, like HERA, the residential investment, the BERA, the commercial building retrofit program. Not every program, obviously, but we love to get the wins, right? So we, you know, and honestly, we love to learn from the mistakes as well. So we don't want to just hear like, how is it going? But we want to see what were the mistakes that we've learned from it. Because and honestly, we have to do that. We're constantly going to have to shift and adapt because the world's changing so quickly. But SEEP, for example, if you're not familiar, it's a PACE program where you make investments in your home using your property taxes as a loan. That got sold out in hours. Like that, the uptake is amazing. So there's an appetite for this, right? And there's mechanisms. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, and actually, I want to jump on the SEEP piece as well, since you mentioned it. I think one of the things I'm starting to think about is how do we expand those types of programs that are already in very high demand? I mean, oversubscribed in a matter of 24 hours. It's pretty impressive. And it feeds into a larger question around how can we, you know, through our investments, actually leverage private dollars to amplify those types of programs. And I see SEEP as maybe a potential for that. Do you have any thoughts there?
Absolutely. I think having a little bit more background on SEEP and PACE, how it's developed, one of the mistakes, I think, in the legislation is that it didn't allow private dollars and capital. And the city is going to have to go back to the province and you know, lobby them to say, because there's so much capital waiting to be deployed. I'm in contact, you know, there's utilities now that go around looking to pay for ground source heat pump systems, huge community, the bigger the better. And it's going to be the same thing with SEEP, right? Dollars look for investment. If we can deploy that capital, carefully, obviously, there's some examples in the States of scams and stuff like that, but SEEP, to get the real value of PACE programs, you need private dollars. And so that's an easy one. Like, it's a huge impact, which costs the city nothing except some lobbying efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just back to Mayor Sohi's point around things that don't cost a lot, lobbying and advocacy is one of them. So I think that's, yeah, something I'm super interested in. So thank you for speaking to it. That covers all of my questions. But again, really, really appreciate your work. So grateful that we have you to provide your expertise and knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Salvador. And we're exploring, we were asking these questions this morning as well on the investment fund, right? So I'll go to Councillor Paquette. Councillor Paquette, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so building off of sort of that checklist of things that we have to do, and I'm not sure if we have this. Do we have sort of a timeline with the checklist and I guess sort of a report card and progress card? Do we have something like that for council from the committee?
No.
Specifically for, no.
We've talked about this though. So that's a really interesting question. So can you expand on what you mean, please, Councillor Paquette? Because we've talked about a sort of a report card of how the community energy transition strategy is coming along, but administration does put together, you know, updates on that. I don't know specifically if you can expand perhaps.
Yeah, you know, it's something that I was speaking with Councillor Hamilton on earlier in an unrelated area. You know, for example, with snow and ice, we've got this new format that actually breaks down the costs of providing the services in a way that is, you know, very easy to understand, almost symbolic in a way, and allows not only council but the public to really understand what they're looking at and how to communicate it. I think that sometimes this climate discussion can get so overwhelming and seem so large that if we can break it down into its parts and saying, okay, so how are we doing in each of these areas? And are we far enough along according to the timeline that we need to be, and where are we? And that might give not only council, but the public and administration a common touchstone so that we can sort of say, okay, maybe we need to move a little bit further on this. Maybe we need to go faster on that. And I would assume that the answer would be yes on all of those fronts, but it would be good to have something tangible that we could see rather than just sort of reading through reports and sort of saying, well, I think we're kind of getting it.
Yeah, I think that's what we mean when we say metrics, or that's a part of it, right? Metrics is a
Well, yeah, it is metrics, but
goes into that.
I'm talking about even more, like more basic, something that we can really just look at, and it's sort of a visual communication, very simply, in a format that people understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, and so the other aspect I was thinking about was Councillor Salvador raised lobbying, and I can tell you that after 4.5 years in this job, the number one lobbyists are developers. They are the ones who want to meet the most, and so councillors may hear their voice the most. And so this is pertinent to the conversation we were having just a few minutes ago about the messages they might want to bring. And I'm just wondering if there's any jurisdictions that have, and maybe there is no answer to this, but any jurisdictions that have like sort of taken that idea and, understanding that there's going to be lobbying from those who might be somewhat resistant to the pace of change, and in some way enhance the voices of other people who actually need this change but don't have the same strength of lobbying voice.
Yeah, I don't think we've done a sort of, I mean, you could do sort of a review of that maybe. I don't think either of us have done that. So I don't know the specific answer to your question, but I think also the solutions will come from the developers too, right? And so really,
I agree, absolutely.
I think the real question is, how do we get regional collaboration? Because that's always the concern, is right, competitiveness across the region. And so if we could get more regional collaboration, then I think that sort of changes that conversation quite a lot. So I think that's what I might focus on, as well as just kind of, I think the developers are part of the solution. I think they're at the table and coming up with solutions together with the city and with the utility, and yeah.
Yeah, I guess the danger is saying developers as if it's one cohesive group when it's actually a lot of different folks with a lot of different ideas.
And there's a lot of developers that are ready for this. They know what is coming. Like I speak to tons of developers that know they're waiting for you to do something. Like like I was literally last week, they're like, yeah, we're just expecting something from council anytime. But
well, can I tell you what's interesting is maybe other councillors are hearing from them, but that's not the voices that I hear. I hear the other voices. So that's really interesting. I'm wondering if there's a way to, and that's what I mean. Are there any jurisdictions that have really helped to amplify those voices that are just waiting in the wings, but not really saying anything?
I think because they're not going to stop making money. They're not hoping that you enact something that costs them more money. They're just ready for it. It's the same thing, Toronto Green Standard. The developers, I'm sure, whined, but as soon as implemented, they're like, okay, let's find the best cost-efficient solution to meet this.
All right, well, thank you. I'm out of time, and it's not that we want to introduce red tape. It's just we need maybe some green tape as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. So that concludes the questions. Thank you so much for being with us. Maybe I'll go to Councillor Salvador to move the recommendation in the report. Councillor Salvador?
Yeah, very happy to move the recommendation in the report that the April 27, 2022 Office of the City Clerk Report, OCC 00965, be received for information.
Councillor Jens, you want to second that as a member of the committee as well?
With pleasure.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, please vote.
In favor.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. And once again, to both co-chairs, thank you so much for your work and your time today. And please convey our appreciation to the rest of the committee for the work you've been doing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, our next item is 6.4, Edmonton Salutes Committee. And we have Chair Brian Hodson with us today. I know Brian has been waiting for a while. We see you, Brian. Go ahead.
Well, I'm very used to waiting, Your Worship, and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit about the Edmonton Salutes Committee, which I have the honor to chair. I was elected as the chair in October of last year for a 2-year term. So the origins of Edmonton Salutes relate to the movement of one Canadian Mechanized Brigade Group and their families from Calgary in 1997. And I can tell you that there was great apprehension on the part of the serving members and their families as to the move to Edmonton. But in the event, Edmonton has proved probably the premier garrison city in the country in terms of its reception and support of the military and their families. And of course, as you know, the military makes a tremendous contribution not only to the social fabric of the Metro Edmonton area, but in terms of the economic activity. So the Edmonton Salutes Committee has been a committee of council since 2007. And so what do we do? Well, the Edmonton Salutes Committee promotes, recognizes our local military communities' contributions, both at home and abroad, towards world peace, security, and stability, and further reinforces the message that the military personnel, their families, and veterans are valued members of the Edmonton capital regions, because the committee, of course, does have a number of members from the surrounding Metro Edmonton communities. So, you know, we've been in a bit of a hiatus because of COVID, and personal contact has been limited, which is not to say that the committee hasn't been active, because we've gone through a complete review of governance, and over the past year implemented a number of recommendations, and these were one of which was the establishment of the Edmonton Salutes Bylaw 19018, which passed on October last year, which came into effect in the following month. So we, in that bylaw, confirming 6 out of the 8 community member positions and reappointing Rosa Parlin, who the executive director of the Military Family Resource Center at the Garrison, as vice chair. And a focus of the process was improving the governance, and through that we settled on the establishment of 4 committees: strategic action, membership and orientation, funding, and bylaw and policy. And this was a very involved process. It was led by a consultant, but with the involvement certainly of me and a number of other members of the committee at that point. So in addition to the governance work, the committee was able to support a number of activities and events that met our mandate. And some of these included, and some of you were there, the rededication of City Hall Cenotaph to honor the military personnel who had served in Afghanistan, of which I was one, incidentally, 2004 or 5. Several Remembrance Day events, and these were limited in nature, but they took place around the city, and we're hopeful that this year that attendance will be increased. Supporting military families through the attendance at an annual production the Citadel puts on, and Christmas Carol, and this is extremely popular with the military and their families, and in fact was oversubscribed. And we had a volunteer appreciation lunch. So we note that many of the activities the committee usually supports were canceled or scaled back owing to COVID. So what's on the horizon in terms of military events? We have received application for a number of units to be granted the civic honor of Freedom of the City. And this is a singular recognition of a unit's history and their contributions, not only to military operations, but also to their community. And many of you will have seen Freedom of the City parades. Other events or other initiatives, governance and strategic planning work included in 21 is has set the committee up for the success for these events and activities planned for 2022. So we hope to be in attendance at military parades, and the Department of National Defense, the Canadian Armed Forces, did cancel any number of events that would have seen the attendance of members of the Evidence Salutes Committee, but we're hopefully coming to that, and so we look forward to increased contact with the members of the Canadian Armed Forces at these events. That concludes my report, Your Worship. I'd entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Brian. Nice to see you.
See you, sir.
Yeah, and looking forward to seeing you in person at some of the events and joining you with some of the celebrations. So questions, council members? Councillor Tang?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Hodgson, for your presentation and for your patience. I noticed you were on the whole time. I think this is really important work to recognize, the people who are, sacrificing their lives. And I'm curious, do you have a sense of how large the military community is in Edmonton?
I can't get you the exact, give you the exact figure, but I can certainly follow up with you. But it would be, if you include families, several thousand at least. I would say in the order of probably 3,000 to 5,000.
Yeah.
And that may not include the civilian employees of the Department of National Defense as well, because of course, the Edmonton Garrison is home to the headquarters for the 3rd Canadian Division, and there's a number of supporting elements that are present that support the military footprint. For the 3rd Canadian Division is everything from the Lakehead to Vancouver Island, from the 49th parallel to the 60th. So it's a massive, it's the biggest geographic military area in the country. But I will certainly get you the more precise numbers.
Yeah, and did I notice that you have some regional representation as well on the committee?
We do, from the surrounding communities, Morinville, St. Albert, Sherwood Park.
And are these did I say was it elected officials?
Elected officials that are appointed by the council, their respective councils, in the same way that Councillor Principe, who's been a great supporter and a great addition, is a member of the Edmonton Salutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this is because in their local community they don't necessarily have the same kind of structure.
Partly that, and partly the fact that military families live in those communities, and it's more of a regional approach. And quite frankly, I think this is my understanding is that a regional approach is certainly one that the city has embraced to a fair degree, and certainly not to say that we're in the van in that particular initiative, but it works very well. And they're seen as partners, and they do contribute a great deal.
Yeah. Do they contribute financially?
It's an optional thing. So we have received monies that they're limited, but certainly I can tell you that the regional entities are very mindful of the fact that the city of Edmonton underwrites and supports the Edmonton Salutes Committee. Now, if you look at our budget, it's not very big.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was $63K, and we didn't spend that last year, largely because of constraints that were imposed.
Right.
COVID restrictions.
It was about 100,000, right? So focusing a lot. I'm noticing on the committee focus a lot on recognition. Do you also kind of get involved in conversations around, say, services and supports for say veterans? I'm thinking specifically, the tiny home for the veterans. Those kinds of projects. Are you involved?
We have supported any number of causes that support veterans, and we support them certainly morally, but more to the point, financially.
That's great.
With modest amounts. It's not a huge amount, but with each of them, and certainly the ones you just mentioned were ones that we have supported, and others like No Stone Left Alone, that have a broader mandate to recognize veterans through the education of youth, which is pretty important.
Yeah, given you've mentioned sort of the or in the report, there's a mention of the current international crisis in Ukraine. Anything specific that the committee is planning at all?
Well, the committee does welcome home returning soldiers from tours abroad. I think it's fair to say that the situation in the Ukraine is one of considerable uncertainty and one that all of us are following very closely. My own view is that additional military assets from this country will need to be deployed in support of NATO in that region. Some have already left, as you know. There was a group of 150. Of the 150 that went from Canada, a good portion of them came from, but not all, came from the Edmonton garrison. And we have, the Edmonton garrison has a battle group deployed in Latvia. And there are other scenarios that you could think of that might require additional resources. And I'm not privy to any inside information. And if I was, that's what I'm not going to, speak to it. But this is conjecture on my part.
So I am out of time, but thank you, and I look forward to hearing updates about that.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Wright?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Hodgson, sorry. I'm just wondering, looking at the budget, I do see the 15,000 that was budgeted for grants, and I see part of that did go to the No Stone Left Alone. What other, what other projects or groups would you look at granting funds to?
Well, we have a funding committee that receives applications, and these are vetted according to the criteria that the committee operates on, and according to city regulations to ensure that that it's a correct and proper application, and that the money's going to be spent in a way that's consistent with those. So I can't predict. There's one or two that want to make presentations, but we have yet to receive an application. The applications have to be made in writing. So we're, notwithstanding the fact that the budget relative to the city budget is minuscule, I think the Edmonton Salutes Committee prides itself on trying to be sensible stewards of public resources, public dollars. So I hope, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was like other community groups in the area that were interested, what sort of some of the, I guess, the parameters were for the grants. And
well, I guess we try to ensure that the applications for funds are aligned with the mandate of Edmonton Salutes, broadly. And of course, as I said, the increased emphasis on governance is a very thorough review of any application, and the funding committee would recommend that to the Edmonton Salutes Committee, which would ultimately approve or not, or ask questions, as you do, about the proposed expenditure. And some are rejected, but not many, frankly.
it just seems such a shame that with so many organizations that are looking for grants and funding that some of this has gone unspent. So,
well, I think part, as I said, that the budget reflected a COVID circumstance, but it's widely known, and the committee members are very well connected. For example, I served in the Loyal Edmonton Regiment and commanded the South Alberta Light Horse, and a member of the Royal Canadian Legion, and the veterans organizations and those other entities that support the causes of veterans are well known to the members of the Edmonton Salutes Committee. So it's easy, I think, for those organizations who want to make application for them to do that.
okay, I'll look into it a little further then. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Paquette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as we were speaking, I watched military helicopter, go by my window. The advantage of living on the north side, we're the best protected. So, Brian, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything you do, and it's a pleasure to see you again, although not quite as pleasurable as I would hope, because it's been 10 years that we've known each other now, and you haven't aged a day, and that's very frustrating for me.
Well, you grew a mustache, so you've matured.
On the outside. All right. Well, that's all I want to say is just thank you so much for your continued service, a lifelong dedication to your community. It shows, and it's so appreciated. So thank you very, very much, and to you and to your entire committee. So thank you.
Well, I want to recognize Councillor Principe and her excellent involvement and support, and the administrative staff from the city who have done just superb work in supporting the Edmonton Salutes, and that's Sarah Pattison, Kirsten Lewis, and Natasha Weber. And here's my wolfhound coming in to lick me.
Words of a true leader. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Councillor Principe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brian, I just wanted to commend the committee, say thank you very much. You're a wonderful leader of the committee, and I am honored to be on it. And thank you for the work on improving the governance and also the strategic plan. I think it's fantastic, and I just really wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. It's a strong team, and I have the honor to lead it. And, it's all about the synergy that we generate by working together.
Good. Thank you so much. So that concludes the questions, Brian, and thank you so much for promoting and recognizing the work of the local military personnel and community and the contributions they make here, both in all the work they do here and abroad to bring peace, harmony, and security and stability to the world. Thank you so much for your work, and I'll go to Councillor Principe to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move that the April 27th, 2022 Office of the City Clerk Report OCC 00966 be received for information.
Second.
Second by Councillor Rice. Any questions? To speak, please vote.
Jan's in favor.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, for me.
Got it, Ken. Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Yes, for me.
Oh, Councillor Rice, got everybody? Okay, good. Display the votes, please. That is carried. All right, our next one is Combative, Supports Commission. And see, Chair.
Good evening.
Daniela O'Callaghan, right?
That's correct. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, councillors and Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm Daniela O'Callaghan, the chair of the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission, and with me today is Trevor Kelly, who is the commission's vice chair. I will be giving the commission's report today, but Trevor and I are both available to answer the council's questions. So I'm going to address 4 issues today. The first, I want to talk briefly about the mandate of the commission and how it interacts with other key parties to regulate combative sports in Edmonton. Second, I want to talk about the commission's key accomplishments in 2021. Third, I'm going to address the commission's work plan for 2022. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for me to make a couple of comments about the commission's financial position. So onto the commission's mandate. There are 3 parties that work together to regulate professional combative sports in Edmonton. We have City Council, which passes municipal laws that are bylaws that permit and govern professional combative sports in the city. And they set out the roles and responsibilities of the commission and the commission's executive director. And they also create rules around licensing of promoters, contestants, and events. Next, we have the executive director, who is a City of Edmonton employee. And it's currently a he, and he's responsible for all operational matters involving combative sports. So this includes things like the employment and training of officials, the approval of license applications, and general operational oversight over sanctioned events. And finally, we have the commission. And as you know, the commission is a council committee created by City of Edmonton bylaw 15638. It's composed of 7 volunteer citizen members. Currently, we have no vacancies. And we regulate combative sports in matters of governance only. So what does that mean? We make policies and regulations that supplement city bylaws, and we review the licensing decisions of the executive director as an appeal body. So on to the commission's accomplishments in 2021. So in 2021, the commission did not sanction any combative sports events, and this is largely due to barriers from the pandemic. But despite there being no events, the commission did have a productive year in governance. And I want to highlight 2 key things that we achieved. The commission approved certain fighter safety policies for stakeholder engagement. And what that means is we reviewed existing policies, specifically those that deal with medical requirements, those that deal with the licensing of contestants and seconds, and those that deal with the licensing of event officials. And we researched and determined and assessed whether anything was required to enhance, clarify, or otherwise clean up these policies. We are proposing some changes, but before implementing these changes, we decided to get the input of the Edmonton combative sports community. And this is to ensure that the commission doesn't miss an opportunity to address gaps, to examine new developments or concerns that need the commission's attention and that the community may alert us to. So we hired in 2021 House of Blue Skies Consulting to support the commission's stakeholder engagement work. Second, the commission heard its first appeal in many years. We approved an appeal. We quickly had to approve an appeal regulation, appeal procedures, create appeal precedents and templates in order to effectively run this appeal. We then, we had a successful appeal, issued a written decision. It was done in a timely manner. And then we hired the Foundation of Administrative Justice to train commission members on effective and fair decision-making. And this was to set up the commission for success in future appeals if we have to go there. We also struck an appeal working group to review the commission's appeal mandate and to identify any concerns or barriers to the commission continuing on with its appeal work. For 2022, we are focusing on, we already have a focus on 3 short-term initiatives. One is to complete our stakeholder engagement, and we're expecting to do that with our consultant before July 2022. And we expect to produce an engagement report as a result of that, which will factor in to any changes that we make to the 3 policies I earlier spoke about. We're going to do some governance decision-making on the issue of bare knuckle fighting, which is an issue that was presented to us through our executive director. And we're working to develop a commission fighter awards policy. Realizing that I'm out of time, I just want to mention that we are working on developing a long-term work plan. It's been 3 years since the commission had a retreat to develop long-term goals. And so now is a good time to refresh that strategic thinking. And that's what we plan to do in June with the commission, with our newest member. And through that work plan, we hope to identify key governance decision-making projects, ongoing education and development for commission members, and outreach to the combative sports community. I've ran out of time, so I will stop there.
No, go ahead.
But,
you can finish your presentation. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will also say that another short-term priority of ours is, I may have mentioned this already, but to develop a commission fighter awards policy. It had come to our attention that the commission had in the past awarded awards to members of the fight community, but there was no structure around that, no criteria, no application process. So we're cleaning that up this year. And the idea is to recognize the accomplishments of members of the Edmonton combative sports community and to recognize those individuals who are contributing to fighter safety. In terms of the financial overview, the Commission's revenue is generated solely through the licensing and sanctioning of events. So there hasn't been an event since December of 2019, but nevertheless, the Commission is in a good financial position. We have a surplus of over $200,000 in our account. The majority of that revenue was generated from a couple of UFC events that were held in Edmonton well before the pandemic. And the revenue of the Commission can only be used to meet Commission expenses. So I will also add that within our budget, the Executive Director's salary is outside the scope of our budget. That is a salary that's paid for by the City of Edmonton, not the Commission. So in the past, we would be making a budget request for that purpose, but as it is now out of scope, there's no need for us to do that today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a very articulate presentation and the report. Really appreciate your work. And I'll go to council members for questions. Yes, well, I'll start with questions. Just want to get a sense. Like I remember a while back when I was in City Council, there were a lot of governance issues on this organization. Seems like all of that has been dealt with, and you're continue to further improve on the governance model, right?
Yes, the Commission is really focused on governance, and effective governance. We have 2 lawyers currently on the Commission, and we also have a couple of members who are very strong in governance as part of their employment. And so we've brought that skill set to our work at the Commission, and we really worked to ensure that we have transparency, fair processes, and we think that work has been effective.
Good. That's very good to know. And for 2020, like in 2021 was obviously rough, and there were no events. Going into 2022, you see some of the events coming back, and you're ready to support that, right?
I would add that in the first quarter of 2022, the Commission did vote for a pause on accepting promoter applications and event applications. And that was largely in response to the concerns of the Omicron variant and the impact it was having on hospitalizations and ICU admissions. At the last Commission meeting, we lifted that temporary pause, and we've been told by our Executive Director that there is interest in, we have more than one promoter interested in having an event here in Edmonton. So we're expecting that in the second quarter and the third quarter, we will be seeing an event or more.
Good. Thank you for that. And I'll go to Councillor Tang next. Councillor Tang?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So this commission is relatively new in the last few years due to the death of the boxer. Is that right?
So the Commission has been around for quite some time. I can't recall when the Commission was established. Trevor, I don't know if you're able to speak to that, but it was in effect before the tragic death of the boxer. Trevor, any thoughts on that?
I don't know the exact dates of when the Commission was established. I do know that it is several decades, I believe. If you're more commenting on how long the individual members of the Commission have been on, We do have a term limit such that the longest anyone can be on the commission is 3 consecutive 2-year.
No, I wasn't referring to that. I think for some reason I thought the commission was sort of a measure that was put in place as a result of a tragedy. But I'm glad to know that it's been around for a long time.
No, it has been around a very long time, although the purview of the commission somewhat changed because prior operational side of things was dealt with by the commission. Now the commission focuses solely on governance, and the executive director, who is a City of Edmonton employee, has complete purview of the operational side of things. And I believe that change was about, I want to say 10 to 15 years ago.
I see. I think in your report you mentioned the Criminal Code of Canada, which is like federal legislation. How does this commission interact with anything provincial?
So I think we're quite limited in how we interact with the provincial government. There are a number of commissions within the province of Alberta, which is fairly unique because you'll see that in other provinces they have provincial commissions. Alberta hasn't moved to that regime, that type of regime.
So yeah, I'm curious, like why is that, or like would that be sort of a better structure? Is that a gap?
So that's a thing that's been looked at for a while now, because Alberta is somewhat of an outlier in that British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec,
Manitoba,
other provinces all do have provincial commissions, whereas Alberta is more of a patchwork in that there's I'm trying to think how many specific commissions there are. I know there Edmonton and Calgary each have one, and then there's one for, I believe, Central Alberta. I want to say there's about 6 or 7, and the various commissions do try to collaborate with respect to policies. But as far as amalgamating and making a provincial commission, that's up to the province. And for several years now, they've shown no interest in making a provincial commission.
Yeah, I see Mr. Mayor shaking his head in agreement, I think. So I am curious, if there is a benefit in that structure, given that right now the commission, the focus is in governance, is there any thoughts around kind of advocacy, if that is kind of a gap, just so that we're kind of aligned with the rest of the country? But I do think, what you're saying in terms of the setup that's unique to Alberta, and I'm sure there's benefits there in terms of kind of a more distributed but collaborative kind of network.
Well, Councillor Tang, I'm going to give you the politician's answer to that question. I can tell you that the commission has thought on that question. And I think that where we've landed for some time now is we take no position, no advocacy position on that. We will continue to do the work that we've been mandated to do by the City of Edmonton. If the province decides to change the structure, then we will adapt and we will do whatever it takes to transition towards a provincial commission if it comes to that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for that politician's answer. I think this is all very interesting. Obviously, this is not, I don't know a whole lot about the field. So thank you so much for, educating me on this. And thank you so much for your work in ensuring the safety of the athletes and the events. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. I was the chair of the Community Services Committee when we were dealing with commission challenges at that time. My file was about 12-inch thick on all the background on this, right? So I'm glad that there's no file on this at this time, which is great. So that is testament to the work that the commission has been doing. So Councillor Wright, you're next.
Thanks. My question was sort of centered around we don't seem to have any other commissions or committees or anything for other sporting groups, and I was just curious as to why the commission was for the combative sports, and I guess it's just in the absence of any provincial need for the commission. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. But would you recommend such a governance model for other sporting groups?
Well,
For-
I mean, part of the reason why we have the commission is one, there is no provincial commission, but more than that is because of the requirement under the Criminal Code of Canada. Effectively, professional combative sports cannot be held unless it's overseen by a commission. Otherwise, it would be a violation of prize fighting as defined under the Criminal Code.
And I would add to that that the Municipal Government Act enables city councils to or municipalities to create commissions like the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission to oversee professional combative sports. So that's the connection there.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. And I just have a very quick question. And thank you, both of you, and tonight to be here and then to provide the updates. And thank you very much. So for the 2022 work plan, and then there was mentioned developing the long-term operational and strategic plan. So my question is about, and because this organization, what I heard here, and is already established for the long time. For strategic plan and operational plan, and then do we do this regularly every year, like annually, or we don't do this? And because I'm a little bit confused about and then long-term or the short-term plan.
Sure. So the last time that the Commission had a retreat to develop long-term strategic objectives was about 3 years ago. And so we've made a decision as a Commission that it's time to refresh our objectives and to really think about post-pandemic, what it is that the Commission needs to work on going forward. So we are working with a consultant. So we are planning to have a retreat in June. And at that point in time, the focus of that retreat will be to create a work plan for the remainder of 2022, but for the next 3 years as well. So I guess we're having a pattern of planning 3 years at a time. But every year, our objectives are supposed to be reviewed, and we measure how well we've achieved our objectives.
Okay, thank you for that. And it's specifically for the planning, and then is there any strategic alignment set in place and for this commission, and then to establish plan and to align with the provincial or align with the cities, recreation or anything like that? So what is should I say, what's the criteria, what's the strategic goals, and you actually use to do your plan?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think I can tell you that what I've observed is the Commission has examined what is happening in the combative sports world at the time. Typically, there's a lot of issues that are emerging. 3 years ago, the Commission decided to focus on responding to the M&P report that was commissioned by the City of Edmonton in response to the tragic death of a boxer during a match. And so the policy review that was done and the stakeholder engagement that we're doing now is a byproduct of all of that. Currently, there's a lot of new developments in the Edmonton combative in the combative sports scene. Everything from transgender fighting, boxers or fighters, and the licensing of transgender fighters. The development of new fighter promotions like bare knuckle fighting and other types of MMA boxing promotions. And what do we do about that? There's the issue of ongoing issue of weight cutting, particularly in MMA sports. And so there's a lot of issues out there We can't deal with them all, but it's up to the commission on a year-to-year basis to identify what it is that we really want to focus on.
Okay. Thank you so much for that information. And then, so my last question is about the financial related, and so, as you mentioned earlier, and the ED is paid by the city. And then in terms of consultant, you mentioned that services provided. So that is a part of city financial support, or is your own operational financial support?
Those expenses are coming out of the commission budget.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you very much and for your answer.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. So that concludes the questions from council members. Councillor Rice, you want to move the?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, happy to move. Okay. So I'm just waiting for the wording.
Here we go.
I move that the April 27, 2022 Office of the City Clerk reports OCC 00967 be received for information.
Second.
Seconder, Councillor Principe seconded it. Any questions? Seeing none, please vote.
We're just waiting on one vote. Councillor
In favor.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Thank you so much for Ms. Callahan for your presentation, and also Mr. Kelly for being here with us. Appreciate all the work you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye. All right, now we are going to our next item, 6.6, Community Services Advisory Board. We have Chair Scott Wright with us, as well as FCSS Committee Chair Jamila Murji and FCSS Committee Vice Chair Victoria Smith. All right, I'll go over to Mr. Wright for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, councillors. So as was mentioned, I'm here with, can everyone hear me okay? I should confirm initially.
We can hear you.
Perfect. I am accompanied by one of my co-committee members, Jamila Murji, who is also the chair of our FCSS committee and the vice chair of that committee as well. And then we also have here Judy Smith, who is with Community Resources, the director of that area. So I'm pleased to present on all of the work that's been done by the Community Services Advisory Board over the past year, and to present on the annual report for that time. There have been a lot of positive impacts over the past 2 years that have been delivered through FCSS in particular, as well as the Community Investment Operating Grant and the Advisory Board itself. In 2021, the board worked with the Community Services Department to provide advice, insight, and to learn about various aspects of work that the city was conducting. And there was a lot of interest in a few key initiatives like alcohol consumption in parks, community safety and well-being task force recommendations. In addition, the discussion of priorities for the coming year was a piece of interesting work. Our members were quite interested in the Indigenous framework and how that work was progressing. And you can find a full list of the topics covered last year on page 3 of the annual report. CSAB provided oversight to the community investment grants through our subcommittee, which allocated operating assistance of $3.6 million to 281 organizations, whose primary mandates included social services, multicultural activities, and recreation and amateur sport. And last year, City Council also directed administration to work with CSAB to review and update the program so that funding for 2022 would align with the goal and outcomes of the city plan and the social priorities of the city. To make that change, a committee was formed, which included members of CSAB, the administration, and community partners, and this group proposed changes that were accepted by CSAB. Based on those changes, the 2022 grant program will provide operating funding to not-for-profit organizations with the primary mandate of amateur sport, recreation, and social services. These groups will use funding to increase social inclusion and equitable access to participation, and this will include being more intentional in offering programs and services to ensure those with barriers have more opportunities to participate. It also provides an opportunity to have organizations start to learn more about diversity and inclusion in order to ensure that they can help the city achieve its goal of being an inclusive and healthy city. And I'd like to now pass the baton over to Jamila and Victoria, who can share some more detailed information about the Family and Community Support Services program that is a part of the CSAP work.
Thanks so much, Scott. I'll take it from here. Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Smith. I'm the Vice Chair of the FCSS Committee. So FCSS is the flagship program and a subcommittee of CSAB. It is mandated through the Family and Community Support Services Act and Family and Community Support Services Regulation with the province. So it's actually a municipal and provincial funding partnership. 80% of funding is provided by the province, and the remaining 20% is matched by participating municipalities. FCSS works to ensure that communities across Alberta, including individuals, families, are supported through preventative social programs and services. So it really is focused on prevention, both primary and secondary prevention. So it helps people, some examples of the way that works is it helps people develop independence and strengthen coping skills. It builds awareness of social needs. People are supported in developing skills to have healthy relationships. It helps individuals and communities assume responsibility for the decisions and actions that affect them, and provide supports that help people participate in the community. So the FCSS committee works with administration to make recommendations to provide approximately $20 million in funding for the nonprofit organizations and partnerships that deliver preventative social services in our community. In 2021, you'll see on page 10 of the annual report, in 2021, the FCSS program supported 67 agencies offering 94 different programs. And this is a correction, so apologies for that error. That's on page 10 of the report. It supported 12 partnerships, and over 231,000 Edmontonians were reported to be served through the programming. Examples of programs include youth programming, mental health supports, family and sexual violence prevention, supports to prevent homelessness and poverty, personal development, healthy relationships, cultural programming, and on and on. So as long as it falls under the guise of primary, secondary prevention, it could be eligible for funding. And as we all know, the last 2 years have not been easy for anyone, really, but certainly equity deserving individuals within our communities are the ones who've been impacted the most. And the ability of service providers to support a lot of these individuals has been challenged. However, the need for some changes has driven some exciting factors, such as new ways to provide programming to individuals. So more virtual programming has taken place, and that's actually reduced some barriers. And now some of these programs are serving in a hybrid model, so somewhat in person and some online, such as tonight. And also it's organizations have had to find new ways to reach out to participants, and so to reduce social isolation and things like that. So there has been some silver linings in the last 2 years. But I will pass it on to Jamila now to talk a little bit more about where FCSS is at today and where it's going in the next couple of years.
Thanks, Victoria. Good evening, councillors, and thanks for having us this evening. So building on Victoria's comments, the FCSS committee works with administration in providing oversight, setting direction, and making funding recommendations to ensure preventative social services are provided to benefit the citizens of Edmonton. With respect to this purpose, this year in particular has been quite an interesting one for the committee, as we have been supporting the Edmonton FCSS team in their strategic realignment and the 2023-2025 funding process for the FCSS program. As a committee, we have provided input, feedback, sought clarification, asked questions, and made suggestions to help shape and influence this work. As a bit of background, this process began in the fall of 2019 with the intent of strengthening the program to make greater, meaningful impact in the community. So some of the questions guiding this strategic realignment process were, is the program aligned with and contributing to the broader city priorities and branch goals? Do we have a clear focus on the social outcomes we want to achieve in our city? How are we as a city in partnership with community organizations working in a concerted way to move the needle on complex social issues? Where is there the most need? And how are we ensuring equity is embedded as a cornerstone in this program to help level the playing field for those who are disproportionately affected and underserved? And through the work of this strategic realignment, Edmonton FCSS now has a clear definition of prevention, which can sometimes be understood in different ways. However, the Edmonton FCSS definition now firmly situates the funding of FCSS programs upstream, focusing on strengthening individual, family, and community protective factors to promote social well-being. It has a clear theory of change that describes the FCSS program logic to foster resilient individuals and thriving families, welcoming and engaged communities, and a strong sector. There is a clearly articulated overarching priority for the Edmonton FCSS program to increase social inclusion and equity. There are focused priorities and specific outcomes articulated for preventative programs and services. So these priorities have been identified through academic and community-based research, local outcome data, and based on alignment to city goals and branch priority areas. And so the priorities that have been identified as a focus for funding preventative programming include healthy social emotional development, positive mental health, healthy relationships, poverty reduction, and homelessness prevention. And then in each of these priority areas are also specific outcomes, which are further described in documents found on the FCSS website. As a committee, we've also been busy supporting the Edmonton FCSS team for the upcoming 2023 to 2025 funding cycle, which is quite exciting as it's an open call to all interested community organizations with preventative social programs that meet the eligibility criteria. So as a committee, we have supported the Edmonton FCSS team by providing input and feedback on their funding process, reviewing and providing feedback on their expression of interest in application forms, ensuring that these funding processes capture the principles and priorities that were articulated and espoused in the strategic realignment. So the funding call for 2023 to 2025 is now in full swing, with us currently awaiting applications from organizations. It has been a really busy year for us as a committee and also for the programs that we fund, as was noted in Victoria's presentation. And we really, truly appreciate the commitment of everyone that has been involved in this work. And now I'll pass it back to Scott for closing.
Thanks very much, Jamila. I know I see that 0 seconds looming here, and there are 3 of us, so we've taken a little bit more than our usual share of time. I just wanted to thank our committee for all of the work that they've done. Lots of great work from volunteer members, as well as from volunteers who participate on the subcommittees who aren't directly a part of CSAT themselves, and good collaboration with the partners that we've worked with. And we've also had great support from the community services team with the city as well. They've been a huge resource for us to draw upon and liaise with. So lots of gratitude to be shared all around. Thank you very much for your time for our presentation.
Thank you so much for your presentation as well, and the time you have devoted to on this board. So thank you so much, and go to Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Rutherford?
Yes, thank you so much. And full disclosure, I started my career with FCSS in Strathcona County and then worked with FCSS in Spruce Grove. So I'm a huge fan of the preventative social programs. And I think, I have to commend the province on this one, because I know there was a fear at one point about the FCSS program review, and they did maintain the FCSS funding. So that is something I think would have been a huge loss for our municipalities. I really am curious about your definition of prevention and how you came to that, because it is absolutely true that it's very gray and mucky in those definitions of prevention. So I'm curious about the definition of prevention that has been created.
We may have to pass that one to Judy because I believe that there was a bunch of work happening at the provincial level to try to define prevention. And it doesn't exactly match up with, well, and Jamila actually works in the kind of public health sector. So she has a whole set of definitions of prevention that they certainly aren't quite exactly the same, but I might pass it over to Judy.
Yeah, I can start and then Jamila can add. I see her working through her paper, so that's good because I have too many tabs open. But Councillor, yeah, you're right. That definition of prevention is really hard because everyone can make anything into prevention.
I've
So
literally seen FCSSs make homelessness into prevention, addressing homelessness because we're preventing, you know, death, right?
Exactly. So as you know, it's always been about primary prevention with the province, although they didn't have it defined either. So we kind of had a start before them with it. And when we had our consultant, BASA Solutions, come and work with us, he actually worked with our funded agencies to help build that definition, to talk about the protective factors. And Jamila can give you the exact definitions. It's in our document online, but it's about building up those protective factors in our community. So,
but sorry, Judy, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just mindful of my time, but I think it's really important because I think even the term protective factors, that's such an FCSS embedded word. Like it's around in other spheres, but could we maybe break down what are protective factors and what are some examples of the grants that we provided in 2021 that worked on those protective factors? Because I think that'll paint a better picture for folks.
Sure, I think you're right. And I think through this process, we recognize that we'll need to do some adapting as we go forward. But we have used examples, and within our presentation we did to groups, we had a diagram that showed what protective factors were. So I think we've got some work to do on that, more so as we go forward, but we have been looking at that. So thank you for reminding us about that.
Well, and then another question I have is what role does prevention play in recovery? I know it seems like a little bit of a backwards question, and this is a question I'm throwing out to the FCSS committee. Is have you contemplated that at all in this new open grant application, or is there a place for it in your perspective?
I think we've had some interesting conversations as a committee in terms of being situated upstream, looking at, as we were talking about, really bolstering, strengthening those protective factors. Both like in a proactive way and as well as mitigating, bolstering and strengthening those protective factors that would mitigate some risk factors to poorer social outcomes. And so,
but hasn't the pandemic shed more light on those protective factors in terms of what they are? So, for example, social isolation is one we talk about a lot, right?
Right.
Or social connectedness, if you're talking about the protective factor as opposed to the risk factor. And we've seen that. So is there like a focus on social connectedness as we recover from the pandemic as a protective factor, for example?
Yeah, I think like the priorities that were identified, so healthy relationships, social emotional development, all the things that would kind of go into those priorities would definitely be things that we would be focusing on. And I think your question was on recovery communities or recovery. Sorry, I'm getting kind of confused with where the question.
Recovery from COVID, like as we're
recovery from COVID.
Socially.
Yeah, absolutely. So focusing on what are the types of things that that our programs are doing in terms of supporting resilient individuals, resilient families, resilient communities. And a lot of that is, like you mentioned, creating strong, connected communities, decreasing social isolation, strengthening social relationships, all of those things. I don't know if anybody else from the committee wants to comment.
No, that's okay. I'm
out
of time, but that was great. I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Wright.
Hi, thank you very much. I think this is appropriate for us to be talking about all these different funding opportunities and grants to volunteer organizations with this being National Volunteer Week. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I just, with the family and community support services, Jamila and Victoria, there's been some changes you mentioned. I think as far as the expression of interest, is this something that was provincially driven, or was this something that the city has identified, or that CSAP has identified that needed to change?
Yeah, the beginnings of the change took place, I believe, in 2019 was when we kind of identified that FCSS had for a long time been a closed program, so it wasn't open for new service providers to enter into the space. So in 2015 had been the first, and Judy's going to know all of these details, but in 2015 was the first time that there was an increase in funding to FCSS from the provincial government in a while. And that funding, instead of opening it up to more service providers and different programming, the amount was actually increased to the existing service providers there for operational purposes and things like that. And it was realized that it had been closed for so long that it was time now to open it up and let new organizations come in and start fresh. And so a lot of the strategic alignment that Jamila was speaking to took place at that time, and that was really city driven. There's a lot of other things happening with the province though right now as the 80% funder, where they have opinions about what prevention is, which is, I think, something that we're negotiating on the side as we work through this. But ultimately, it was decided kind of at the committee level that it was time for the update.
And is it anticipated that that level of funding is going to continue into?
The most recent budget is continuing. Okay. So that we know that FCSS is a very popular program, obviously both within the city of Edmonton, but provincially and rurally. So every municipality and Métis settlement actually has access to funding. Some of them group together to receive funding, but across the board, it's very popular, which hopefully provides safety for the funding. But at least for this year, it continues.
And I just wanted to add, Councillor Wright, if it's okay, that we only ever did open up the program, like Victoria said, when we had additional money. So if some programs were stopped being funded, we had a gap, we'd fill it. So when we did the realignment, we thought it was a good time to open it up and allow people that hadn't had the opportunity. Because one of the foundational pieces of FCSS in the city of Edmonton is around sustainable funding. But there has to be a time when you give other people an opportunity, and we felt that this was the natural time.
And so this does allow then other groups that haven't received funding in the past to come in and qualify alongside long-time recipients. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. And then one other thing, just at the CSAB meeting last night, we talked about the outcomes in reporting, or the requirement for outcomes in the community investment operating grants.
Yeah, we, as part of the review this year, with when council asked us to align the program, we took it as an opportunity to be able to say these groups are getting operating funding, but they're also through that working towards the goals of the city. So we included some reducing barriers to participation and social inclusion outcomes within that. And we found actually people were quite worried about those outcomes. And we found after we had a discussion with them, many of them were actually collecting that information. They just called it different things. So the next step as we figure out the program for 2023 will be to have it a bit more clear so it doesn't appear to people that it's more work. But actually we funded, as you were at the meeting last night, we funded over 300 groups this year. So more groups applied and more groups were funded. So
excellent. And just before I run out of time, because I'm out of time now, I just want to thank the outgoing members and the members that are staying on for all their hard work. Scott and Jamila, and I think Victoria, you're staying on, aren't you? as vice chair? Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Tang, you're next.
Yeah, thank you all so much for the presentation. I really appreciate the work of this committee and also, you know, some of the advice and perspectives you shared during our council meetings, like the policies you mentioned earlier. I thought your report is actually quite comprehensive. I don't have a lot of questions, but I was really interested in your Common Outcomes Initiative because I think for a long time measurement of, you know, prevention is hard. And I'm wondering, you know, we talk so much about, you know, if we invest in, you know, emotional development, for example, then we have savings of these dollars kind of down the road on these different systems. I'm wondering if FCSS has ever, because it's such a long-standing program, has ever done any kind of social return on investment kinds of evaluation. When was the last time it was done? And, you know, would something like Common Outcomes be helpful for that?
Councillor, we don't normally do social return on investment. We have in the past, not recently, but there was a time when they picked a sector and did it for some different programs to figure out how they were doing and how that was impacting. So we haven't. We've been talking about how could we do that and what would be the best approach for that with so many programs. Like we've had 100 programs usually every year. So how do you figure out how to do that on a bigger scale? But the Common Outcomes has been really interesting. It's been a piece of work that's been going on for years, working grassroots with community to help build it. And we're at the point for the longest time now, they're called Common Outcomes because we actually do it with United Way, and we used to do it with the Ministry of Children's Services, but they've got their own set now. So that groups that we fund, we only have to ask for reporting once, and if they get funded from both of us, the questions come up from both of us. And if it's just one of us, it just comes. So then we have a combined report on those outcomes that we have. And United Way looks, you know, for some outcomes and we look for others. We've had to tie ours to the provincial outcomes, but we decided a few years ago to do some mandatory for each kind of sector. So adult support or children or family support, we'd have everybody gets a social inclusion outcome that they have to report on, and then a program specific one. So we finally are in the position where we have some evaluation expertise in our area that we can start rolling that and looking at that now over time. You know, it's just hard with so many groups. We do not have one system for people to kind of collect information into.
For sure. Yeah, and I think this is sort of a bit of a kind of a timeless issue that, or as long as I've been involved in the sector, been hearing about. Do you coordinate at all with other funders, say the Edmonton Community Foundation? Because I imagine a lot of the FCSS recipients also receive, you know, other forms of funding.
We do talk to them quite a bit, and actually have one rep from Edmonton Community Foundation on the FCSS committee. So we have, and they've had discussions about how they might be able to come into that Common Outcomes group as well. They're trying to figure that out. They fund differently. So,
right.
But yeah, we deal with all the other funders too, and try to figure out things together as well as partners.
Yeah, because I feel like so often I hear from community groups, you know, telling me that it's the funders demand that, you know, there's so many different things that they have to measure. And then is CIOG also have something similar?
Well, this was the first year we did outcomes for CIOG because it's an operating grant, but we were trying to find a way to start showing the impact of those groups. So we'll have to, that's going to take a little bit of time to figure that out, but we thought that was a good way to go. And we used some of our outcomes that we had that fit from our Common Outcomes work that we could use and tie in, because we had indicators already developed and survey questions already developed that we can use for tools for people. So yeah, we're trying to align things better.
And I guess for the committee members, you know, I don't know if you want to add anything to this, and I'm curious if there's much evaluation expertise among the committee members.
I have some evaluation expertise, and so it's always quite interesting when we're reviewing the outcomes and reviewing the reports from the organizations. But as Judy said, there's hundreds of them. So what's happened in the past, kind of, I guess before COVID, is we would kind of parcel out, and each of the committee members would take a certain number of the programs that were up for funding, and we would review them at that point. But they're all, the city staff does such a great job at combining all of the information with us to kind of review it all together. But also, as Judy had said, a lot of that is driven from the province. So even breaking it into individuals, and then individuals are broken into kind of youth, children and youth, broken into adults and seniors, and then it's broken into families and then communities. And so there's not necessarily a lot of flexibility in reporting back and evaluation.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all your service to this. Always excited to hear from CSAP.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, and thank you all to be here tonight, and then for the wonderful presentation and also great work you have done. I just have a very quick, few quick questions. The first one, and you mentioned about 2023-25 funding cycle. Is that aligned with the provincial budget cycle? And because our city's budget cycle is 2023-26.
Yes, Councillor, it's in line with our 3-year funding agreement that we'll have with the province for FCSS funding.
Okay, wonderful for that clarification. And specifically, and then in terms of city support to the funding, and in your report, there are around like the two portion added together, and is about $20 million. So that $20 million actually from city's budget cycle, right?
That 20 million is provincial funding that the city gets. So it's not tax levy, it's provincial funding.
Okay, so because one portion is a partnership funding, is around like 3.7 million. Another is program funding. Both two portions from provincial.
For FCSS, the only portion that's tax levy is our minimum contribution. So our minimum contribution is 20%. So that 5.6 million or whatever we claim as our portion is tax levy.
Okay, and then because for me to understand this, and then our city's budget cycle coming soon, and then for the planning purpose and to understand how much support and from city government, and because I understand for the social specific community services, and we have we work together with 3 levels government to provide this support, and so that information is helpful. So in terms of the outcomes, and then I really like the table you provided, and the list outcomes and the timelines, everything like that. And is there any specific measure? We talked about the evaluation methodology, and any specific measure, how we measure success, and then from prevention perspective. I know my colleague, Councillor Rutherford, asked that question earlier. And is there any specific measure or matrix and in place, and we can measure that outcome and success? And because this funding cycle and for this organization has done such a wonderful work, is there any measures in place? And I just want to understand, and also from like reporting alignments and strategic alignment perspective, and because you mentioned this work major need by provincial government, and is there anything there we can look at as the results, say yes, and in the past years, and we actually have that tangible results, and from evaluation perspective?
It's so, I think that's a great question, Councillor Rice. And I think one of the trickiest things is how do you measure prevention? And this is something that it's just a challenge in evaluation, generally speaking. So a lot of the times the way success is measured for some of these organizations would be to do intake surveys of individuals and exit surveys, and to see, and they would actually judge that, you know, I am more resilient after the services that were provided to me. Obviously depends on the actual service, but it is challenging to quantify what the outcome of all of this funding is. So sometimes it's easiest to do it by output. So the number of participants that were served, right? The number of Edmontonians that were served by this funding is one way to do it. The number of programs that were offered, but not all programs are created equally. And having been on the committee, I think this is my 4th year or 5th year, and I used to be on CSEB too, but I've seen a lot of different types of programs and services that are offered, and some are more targeted at seniors, for example, to reduce social isolation, and some are targeted at the most at-risk youth in the city to give them a safe place to be. And to say one is more successful than the other, I can't even imagine how you could do that. But great question. But I think it's just a problem that we like to admire, but still obviously try to
Thank you.
work with organizations that do a good job.
Yeah, thank you. I know my time is out, and then if I may ask Mayor, and then maybe I can go to second round because I have one more question.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you move the second round then?
Okay, I move the second round.
We need a seconder for the second round. Councillor Principe seconded it. Please vote for the second round.
We're just missing 2 votes. Councillors Jans and Paquette.
Councillor Jans is not probably there. Councillor Paquette.
We have all the votes.
Got all the votes. Display the votes,
I was thinking about it.
Okay, go ahead. Here we go. It's carried. All right. Councillor Rice, go ahead.
Yeah, I have last question, so hopefully this is the last question for tonight.
Nobody.
And so I look at the work plan for 2022. I'm thinking that how we can, as a city, how we can support you better, and from budgeting perspective, because our city's budgeting cycle is 2023-2026. Do you have any thoughts or any suggestion for that?
Well, based on the expressions of interest, we are oversubscribed by double the amount that's available. So I'll leave that. But I mean, this is a big, and I will absolutely ask Jamila and Judy and Scott if there's anything else they'd like to add. But this is quite a big task to refresh the FCSS funding and to find potentially new service providers, new programming. In some cases, I'm sure we'll continue on with longstanding partnerships and things like that. But there's a lot of work to be done. So we know that those of us on the committee will be rolling up our sleeves when we review applications. And I know how hard Judy and her team have been working as we take this journey down this kind of new road. But I think, the fact that we're oversubscribed was the most telling for the committee, even though I guess we weren't surprised coming off the last couple of years that we have. Okay. But I'll turn it over to my team members.
So Councillor Rice, I think you were asking too about the budget in general around community services.
Yes, and for the planning. Yeah, for the planning purpose.
I'll let Scott talk about how CSAB has been part of budgeting for community services so far.
And maybe just let me finish my question, and then I can get the information one time. And so is this request for the funding purpose is one time, and for the budgeting planning purpose only, or you request the funding every year annually?
I think we need clarification on what funding you're speaking of.
And to the city, not provincial. I'm talking about city budget cycle. So you request the funding for the planning the funding amounts in our budget cycle at front. Is one time only, or is you request the funding and every year is annually?
So for the FCSS program, we don't request funding. We use existing budget programs and services that are in the base budget. So we don't request for that. The Community Investment Operating Grant will be requesting for ongoing funding for. And then CSAB has been involved in helping identify priorities or reviewing the priorities that the department has laid out. And the committee itself doesn't have any specific budget requests other than the Community Investment Operating Grant. Scott, do you want to add to that?
Sure. Thanks, Judy. Yeah, the strategic budgeting discussions and strategic priorities related to the budget has been maybe our most popular topic in returning to the CSAB committee discussions. And we appreciate that. I think that's probably outside of the work of FCSS and the community investment grants. Probably the critical piece of our committee is to hear what the proposed budget is and then provide feedback on what our thoughts are on the way resourcing is being allocated, the types of work that are taking place, trying to provide timely feedback on that work. Certainly, it always seems like a lot of work within the budget, and I think that echoes Victoria's comments related to the work being done to support FCSS. There's more demand than there is ability to meet that demand. And then our role as a committee is trying to support community services in ensuring that the scarce resources are allocated as effectively as possible and providing whatever insight or feedback we have to make sure that also there's representation of the general public's views and the diversity of Edmontonians in that budget.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answers, and thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ms. Chair. Back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. So that the city's contribution, which is the minimum matching contribution, that is built into the base budget of the city, right? Right, Judy? Yeah.
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
Mayor. We don't budget our contribution. We look at what programs and services we have that fit the requirements and meet the eligibility and use that. So that's why sometimes we over contribute, and that is mainly because council has often funded things that fit prevention, and so we include those in our portion.
Got it. Thank you so much. Nice to see you all, and I know it's late evening, so thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time and all the work that you have been doing. So deeply appreciate that. So on behalf of council, please know that we thank you for that work. So that concludes the questions, and I'll go to Councillor Wright to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Sobey. So I move that the April 27th, 2022 Office of the City Manager Report OCC 00968 be received for information.
Second.
Second, Councillor Rutherford. All right. Any questions?
I just wanted to
speak to this.
Speak,
Councillor Rutherford to speak.
Yeah, I want to say to everybody on the advisory committee that this is hard work. Not hard, it is hard, but it's also heart work. And heart, like heart. Heart work and hard work. Yeah, and I just want to say that I know that it's not just, it's a labor of love, and it's emotional sometimes when you figure out all of the things that you're trying to achieve for community and with community, and it doesn't go unnoticed for sure. And so I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for committing your time to contributing this way to your communities and for making a huge difference in people's lives in big and small ways. So I wanted to say that. And I want to just take a moment to say, as somebody that's worked in this sphere for a long time, I think it's really important for council to know what a gem we have in Ms. Smith. She is renowned provincially and looked to by all the other FCSSs in the province for her knowledge and skills and passion. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, because I think, you know, it's not often you hear that, but I've seen it from the other side. And so thank you for all the work that you've done and continue to do for the city of Edmonton. You make us very proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy is amazing. All right, so please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. We have no bylaws, no motions pending, no private reports. Any notes of motions or motions without customary notice? I didn't get any notices for that. No, we are adjourned. See you tomorrow at 9:30, right? Yeah.